and goal. Kuhn gets the ball. Pyle trying to make his way in for the touchdown. What a great second effort. Here comes the. Y'all don't really want it like that. Here comes the. Here comes the. Here comes the. Y'all don't really want it like that. I said so. I keep big bills up in my heart on the dirty like blood. So ain't got no twist in my head, but I'm still dreadful.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Week 11 Fantasy Preview Show. It's the Fantasy Fullback Dive, brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal, paving your way to fantasy excellence, fantasy glory, feeding and breeding fantasy wolves, all at the same time, often in the same episode. I, of course, am your host, Nat the Truth Jones. With me, as always, the wolf of Roto Street himself, gearing up for a Week 11 that is maybe meaningless for his personal fantasy teams. Is that right? Did you get the bounce?
Not quite. I did come off the by far worst beats of my life, and now it has me on that horrible territory where you have to win out. You need help from other people who you never want fucking help from in your life because they're fucking asshole league mates that you never want to say, you helped me out. I'm in that type of shitty ass situation right now because I think I told you this one, but any Wolfpack members have not heard this one. Buckle up. Fucking 0.44 in 2 leagues, the exact same number, 0.44. Just like, couldn't get you an extra reception because it's a half-point PPR league in both of them. Regardless, I still don't understand how 0.44 was the exact same number. One of the leagues, Nick Chubb fell down at the fucking went out of bounds at the 1 yard line, being a smart football player, but still, fuck you. Like, that was an asshole move. You might have ruined my fantasy season, you fucking dick. Yep. And then the second one being the opponent not only had Kyler Murray, but also DeAndre Hopkins. So,
oh God,
25, 30-point swing, like that one crazy play, which I loved at first. Like, oh my God, this is the best.
Like, oh my God, you're like, oh, that's the end of me.
It's the end of my fucking hopes and dreams. And ultimately, all of the games came down to like Monday Night Football, final quarter, like 6 minutes left to like Thielen caught a touchdown to end me and won his second touchdown of the game. And then Dalvin Cook ran off some like 10-yard run and it ended the score. So it wasn't even just like I was done on Sunday. I could have a little time for the depression to set in and like compose myself somewhat. It was just like last fucking quarter of the football week, just get my ass slapped completely. Buried inside me, whatever metaphor you want to use. So that was a horrible feeling, and it's left me in the desperation mode. Now I'm not done, and I like my schedule. I'm facing a couple cream puffs. Like, I mean, I'm a cream puff at this point in that league anyways, but I'm facing a lot of the people I'm in that like 4-6, like 5-5 mud with. So controlling the destiny. But that's enough of my fantasy teams. I think you had a tough loss too, right?
We had to, my team is just on the skids big time. And basically, aside, you could say I lost my game for a lot of different reasons. I have a bunch of just terrible performances from players that are usually pretty good. But ultimately, just to make sure I got the ultra super hardcore roundhouse kick to the nuts, what ultimately broke me was a pass from a wide receiver I was facing in the swirling monsoon wind and rain in Foxborough. Jacoby Myers completing an improbable 25-yard or so touchdown pass against the supposedly great Ravens defense, and that was the end of me. So, and also Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill, and Tennessee first and goal from the 1 does like a side handoff to Jonnu Smith.
Fucking brutal.
And any of those things don't happen, I win. But anyway, that's fantasy. You ready to get into the trainer's room?
We got to get into this shit. But yeah, Wolfpack, send us your good vibes. We clearly need them. We need the W this week. So we will appreciate that. And in that note, that thumbs up, baby, gets us followed, gets more people seeing our stuff. We've crossed the 1K threshold officially on YouTube. Fucking stoked about it. So keep it coming. Send it out to anybody you know that you're not facing against. Help us grow. Give us that thumbs up, that heart button if you're on Periscope. All that good stuff, Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope. You guys are all awesome. If you're catching the replay, we're typically live right around 7:30. It's tricky. We have other jobs. We have basketball coach. We have all this stuff. So we try to keep a tight schedule. Obviously, it would be better if we could. But sometimes it just life happens when we're doing this in our, the most we can in our second job, essentially, at this point. So we appreciate your understanding. We'll try to follow that schedule. We love you guys, especially I already see, Mitch, Craig, all the regulars, Kyle Tunes, everybody already that we know and love here with us. We got a great growing pack, and you guys are the fucking best. So let's get into it, Wolfpack. Let's fucking dominate and start with a little bit of.
Who is the avatar for that? Who is that? Was that Jordan Reed?
Dwayne Haskins. I'm not positive.
Probably Jordan Reed.
Yeah, it should have been Jordan Reed. Seriously,
right.
Like, good Lord.
All right, so first up, we got Chris Carson. He's the bane of my existence. He's one of my starting running backs, and I use the word starting loosely because he doesn't really play football anymore. Anyway, he's been dealing with this foot injury that at first seemed kind of minor, but then it kept him out a week and then another week, and now it seems like he's probably not going to play this week, which, of course, opens the door, as so many doors have been opened in the past before, for one Carlos Hyde. Talk me through this, Wolf. Sell me on, let's go all in on Carlos Hyde.
Yeah, it is so strange, but as you mentioned with Chris Carson, like just 4 weeks ago, it seems he was a game time decision coming down to the minute, and it's not a guarantee he's out quite yet. Pete Carroll said they're going to take it to game time, and we've seen Carson just miraculously play in the past. It's hard to fathom what the fuck's going on with this entire situation. But Carlos Hyde, let's play the hypothetical Carson sits, the most likely hypothetical. I think he's stepping right into a top 20, maybe even top 15 role here. The Seahawks have scored a rushing touchdown every single week outside of one against Dallas, of all people, by the way, which is that's when it was a complete points bonanza shootout. Nobody was getting any work on the ground. But again, every single week, whether it's DJ Dallas, mostly Carlos Hyde, obviously racking up those scores. Chris Carson. But the last time that Chris Carson got knocked out, which was against none other than the Arizona Cardinals, who they're facing tomorrow night, Carlos Hyde rumbled 17 fantasy points, saw 18 touches, 3 of them receptions, racked up, 78-ish yards and the score. So nothing like crazy, but just that steady, like 60 to 80 yards, touchdown, a handful of catches. And with Travis Homer now banged up too, doubtful for the game, Carlos Hyde might be their best running back on the roster, which is just a terrifying thought in terms of pass catching. So ultimately, he'll be in line for the receiver. Potentially all the rushing work. We've seen a gross kind of committee, nobody getting more than 12 carries in the last 3 weeks, but they also are relying on DJ Dallas and Alex Collins and Travis Homer. So why would you feed them? I think this is why they signed Carlos Hyde. They talked about him being a really big part of what they do all season. And this is going to be a chance to show it. So I only 21% owned as of this recording. If you need a running back plug-in, and who doesn't need a fucking running back plug-in at this point? Like I'm going to be putting him in over Duke Johnson, for example. Let us know if you have any sit starts out there about Carlos Hyde heading into Thursday night football.
Don't you hate it when you get to the point in the season when you're having to decide between Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson?
Just sickening. Just absolutely sickening. How did we get here? What's that Paul Rudd meme where they're like, who would have thought we'd be here? Well, not me. It's fucking mind-boggling that this is what it's come to.
I'll just end this quick segment, not with a particularly hot take, but I'll just say, of course, I'm skeptical of Carlos Hyde. I'm, of course, skeptical of Chris Carson playing. It's just been a miserable Seattle running backs experience for me. I'm sure others are in the same boat. Carlos Hyde, if he plays, it's hard to disagree with the Wolf that he might have top 20 potential.
And it's about not necessarily him, the offense. Offense. Again, DJ Dallas was the running back too just a couple of weeks ago. DJ fucking Dallas, whoever the fuck that loser is. It's the offense that is so explosive in a game that's going to put up points. He's going to fall his fat ass into the end zone at some point, and you're going to be happy with the 15 to 20 points Carlos Hyde ultimately leads you to.
All right, moving on. Next up, we got a Tyler Locket sighting. We're going to stick with the Seahawks for a little while. He, and this is in quotes, will play, according to Pete Carroll. David Moore is a solid backup plan, of course. He's obviously a downgrade from Locket.
Oh, for sure. Locket the last time out against the Cardinals, if anybody forgot, on that Sunday night football game, what was it, 250 and 3 touchdowns? I think it was 205.
He had 50 PPR fantasy points.
Ridiculous, 50 PPR points. So many people going to bed thinking they're done and waking up with the joy of 50 points. That's the upside of Tyler Lockett. So the fact that he's in, it's really hard to bench him. Now, you can't imagine he comes even close to 50 again. If you get 20, that's going to be incredible because the coaches, obviously, the Cardinals coach is going to be like, how the fuck could we ever let this happen again? You know how they will single that out on points. And now he's banged up too. So there's no way he does this, but you do imagine they'll keep Patrick Peterson on DK Metcalf, who he limited to a pretty close to nothing game last time. I think that flips. I think DK Metcalf, really wants to stick it and prove like this was not Patrick Peterson. This was just me not getting the ball. And I imagine DK comes balls out like he always does. And at the expense of a banged up Locket. The only thing there's not much advice other than you're playing both Seahawks receivers. And if you stash David Moore just as like an emergency, Carroll's been known to lie in the past, mostly because he's blowing his players too hard, and just they end up being just nobodies. But still, David Moore could be your fallback option, the good deep threat action against this Cardinals team. With again, I'm stoked. We get a Thursday night game with looks like it's going to be a 60+ point bonanza. Finally, some great action for Thursday night. I'm looking forward to it. Tyler Lockett should be part of your plans if you own him for sure.
No doubt. I agree. And I'll be there for the game as well.
Yep.
All right, moving on. Who's our next guy in the trainer's room? We are going to discuss none other than Wolf Staple. I think he's going to say Joe Mixon, although he's not putting him up on the board. Joe Mixon was held out of Wednesday's practice ahead of Week 11's game against Washington. I mean, I guess we care. I mean, if you got Mixon, he's a viable starting running back. He certainly has not. Yeah, I mean, of course, I'm not high on the guy. And I mean, I feel like he's been underachieving and stuff like that. And of course, even though I hate on Giovanni Bernard all the time, he actually has been fairly effective when he's played. So what do you know about Mixon? What are your thoughts about how cautious or otherwise people should be moving forward this week?
I mean, the dude hasn't played since week 6, hasn't practiced since week 6, and it seems like he's just not going to show up again.
Yeah, that's what I think.
It's kind of ridiculous at this point. So you obviously have to be planning for life without him. And ideally that means just Gio Bernard, who is legitimately better than Mixon at this point when he starts. 21 fantasy points and 23 fantasy points before the bye, the running back 7-3, and his first 2 spot starts. Kind of underwhelmed against Pittsburgh. I mean, kind of. He only had 9 points, was the running back 28, but still not like killing you by any means. And that was the worst possible matchup. I think Pittsburgh second lowest or lowest at this point in terms of points allowed to running backs. And Washington's got a good D-line, but once you get to that second level, they're pretty vulnerable. And that's what Gio Bernard, that's how you use him, is in this receiving game, get him to the second level. I think he could fantasy point days, and people are starting to get worn away on things on the daily fantasy sites like DraftKings and whatnot. So I imagine he might go a little under-owned here and give you right back to that 21, 23-ish fantasy point range, right up there in my top 14 running backs. And as it gets likelier and likelier Mixon misses this, he's going to shoot up even higher, probably into my top 12.
All right, I agree. There's no reason really to think that this guy's going to play.
Exactly.
All right, moving on. We got another fairly big name, Calvin Ridley, due to his foot issue. He was limited in practice on Wednesday, but I mean, at least he was practicing. This is ahead of Week 11's game against the Saints. The Saints, who are going to be run by Jameis Winston, who we'll be discussing later as well. What do you think? Ridley, obviously a wide receiver 1. If he's playing, that's a big if.
Yeah, big if he's playing, but if he's playing, there's no if about it. He is a dominant wide receiver 1. And if he's out there, you got to imagine he's pretty close to 100 because the Falcons don't have much left, if anything, to play for other than pride. And there's really none of that left here anyways for the Atlanta Falcons. So I think Calvin Ridley, if he's out there, you feel great. You put him in there. It's really just at this point seems to be if he has a setback is the only real risk here. If they're getting him out there, he's getting his feet under him. Obviously, foot injuries are very skeptical about them all the time. We've seen what happened with Mixon. We haven't seen him since week 6. So this
Carson's got a foot issue. Carson's got a foot issue. Chris Carson's got a foot issue.
Exactly. Too. Yeah. So foot is terrifying. Absolutely terrifying to see next to your player's name. But the fact that he's already practicing on a limited basis is a pretty good sign. This is not as severe as Mixon, not as severe as Carson. My guess is he's going to be out there. Obviously, your backup plan could be something like Olamide Zaccheaus, who had 100 yards last time out with Calvin Ridley. There's certainly other options. Jalen Reagor. I mean, I have my wide receiver Hail Marys later. We'll talk about those guys and discuss them. But just the immediate fill-in, it doesn't seem like it's Russell Gage anymore. It seems closer to be Olamide Zaccheaus. So you could add him as a potential backup plan if you really need one. But expect Ridley to be out there, and he's right back in your top 7 wide receivers if he is.
All right. Speaking of wide receivers, let's talk about Kenny Galladay. He has been out for a couple weeks. He went down with a hip injury. He has returned to practice as of Wednesday. I remember before he got hurt, and then after he got hurt, I made the joke that how would you be able to tell if he was going to play or not? Because I believe the game before he got hurt, he had 0 catches for 0 yards.
Yes. And he did get hurt, I think, at like halftime for that game. So that was probably part of the donut, the goose egg. But
it's still pretty shitty.
Still shitty as fuck for a dominant wide receiver, Babytron, as they call him. But truly, he is a monster when he is out there. Big body. I know that last game wouldn't suggest it, but great catch radius, good speed for the size. I mean, he does everything your number one wants to do. He's been out now since week 8. You got to imagine he's close to 100% at this point with them.
You think so?
Who knows? You're right. And Matthew Stafford's going to have his thumb thing. He's going to play through it. He's not going to need surgery or anything like that. So Stafford has been on fire lately. At 2 out of his last 3, at least, he's been a top 10 quarterback with over 20 fantasy points. So he's been doing that without Golladay. You got to get pretty excited about what Stafford could do with Golladay back, what Galladay should be able to do as their number one. We just saw Marvin Jones go completely berserk. It's not the best of matchups against Carolina. They've been bottom 7 against wide receivers in terms of points allowed, but we also just saw them get completely spanked by the Bucs. Granted, a lot better, a lot more talent than what we see with the Lions. But if Stafford keeps doing what he's doing, there's very real possibility that Galladay can be right back in there for 75 to 100 TD. If you own him, he's probably in your lineup. He's right on that fringe of like the top 30 and 25 or so, like in between 30 and 25 is where I have him sliding in right now.
I don't own him, and I'm glad to not own him.
Yeah.
All right. Christian McCaffrey has been ruled out. And here's another shock. We're not getting a bunch of hot takes here. No. Christian McCaffrey, due to his shoulder injury, been ruled out for week 11 against the Lions, who we just mentioned. I guess he figured, I played a couple games to start the year. Then I took like 8 off or 6 off or whatever. Then I played a game, gave the people what they wanted, and now I'm just not going to play football anymore.
Pretty much. He just wanted to tickle your balls, show you exactly what
your balls got tickled.
Oh, they got completely blown on.
Maybe full on massage. He was, milking the sack or whatever.
Exactly. Just getting them all nice and swollen just to leave them that way is what it was. I was fortunate enough to ship him away and not have to deal with this headache. And again, fortunate enough to get rid of the best player in fantasy when he's on the field. Like I'm somewhat joking here.
He's not on the field. It was a great deal by you. You made a great deal. Now, granted, the guy you got stepped out of bounds at the 1 yard line and
cost me
up the ass.
Yes, exactly. Thank you for that acquisition. After though a big day too. I mean, it's tough to hate on him, but still, would have won. Would have my season.
I know.
Nonetheless, Mike Davis is going to be right back in. Given everybody's owners are all blue and hurting right now. Ultimately. Hopefully you own Davis. I didn't. And a lot of Christian McCaffrey owners, it seems like, don't, because I get a ton of questions around it. And Davis hasn't been that locked in monster. I mean, when he first started 16, 23, 22, 30, it was like, this guy is a hero.
He was like RB6 or something.
It was unbelievable. I think actually if you aggregated all his numbers over that span I just gave you, he was the running back 2 in fantasy behind only Alvin Kamara. Wow. It was insane. And since then, 12, 9, 9, 9, 8. And this is PPR too, where he was, becoming a monster. He's also, though, had a tough stretch of schedule. And now he gets Detroit, literally the easiest, the number 1 in terms of points allowed. That could be the, get right matchup. He obviously has his own little thumb thing going on, but he looks like he's ready to go. It seems like Teddy Bridge is going to be back this week. They're still calling him day to day, but assuming all your moving pieces are there, he has to be a top 10 running back in rankings, given how cake this matchup is. And Christian McCaffrey, the one thing with that as well is their bye is in week 13. So after this, you're in week 12. Why rush him? And then if you get to the point where they're out of it after the bye, does he even come back? That's terrifying. That's a terrible thought that I hope doesn't cause everybody that owns Christian McCaffrey sleepless nights now. It should.
I'm just going to tell you, they'd be insane to bring him back. If they are mathematically eliminated and they put this guy back out on the field, people should lose their jobs. I know fantasy owners may, rake me over the coals for this, but you can't do that.
No, It's not a smart play. So absolutely, there's a very real risk at this point. Like we may have seen the last of McCaffrey. A nice 32-pointer to make sure you remember what you had that you really didn't get all year. But damn, like there's a chance that we don't see him again, which is just crazy.
Yep. All right. Well, NFL Network's Ian Rappaport has reported, and this is a direct quote, there's no change after Tuesday's second opinion. I believe the thing that there is no change from is that he's got like 5 broken ribs and a collapsed lung. Is that right?
Horrible.
So he still has 5 broken ribs. It's like, no. We weren't wrong. What if they came back and they're like, no, only 2 of his ribs broken and his lungs fine.
Yeah.
Like, no change in the diagnosis. Still 5 broken ribs and a collapsed lung. It's enough to slow anybody down, especially when you're like 62 years old.
It sounds so painful, but
doesn't it really sound awful? Oh, and also I saw on the ticker they on right after it happened, they were like, Brees has been advised to be extremely cautious with the lung.
Yeah, the lung.
Right. I mean, like that's a concern. They really like, yeah, your lungs collapsed, dude. That's not great. It's not great. You should be cautious about that.
A good idea. Yeah. Be cautious about your collapsed lung. Thank you for that.
Yeah, right. So anyway, there's no change. That, of course, means Jameis Winston is getting the start because you don't start football games with 5 broken ribs and a collapsed lung. Jameis Winston, who I picked up off waivers for nothing.
Exactly. We're going to go into Jameis Winston a little bit later. And if you're watching just a clip of this, find the Jameis Winston clip because we will be talking about him and why I'm absolutely beyond horny for him this week, which is always a terrify. That's another one that can lead you to straight to hell to get horny over. But I'm ready to go all in and have my heart broken or my just day made completely.
I'm just warning you that later in the episode when we talk about Jameis Winston, I will be asking you what kind of a woman Jameis Winston would be in the bar if you're trying to pick him up. Right. I'll start. I'm setting you up. I'm giving you a little bit of think time moving in.
Man, that's going to be a tough one. But yeah, Drew Brees, the one thing with this is somehow he's not on the IR, so he could be back within 2 to 3 games if they're not putting him on the IR. So I guess the no change is like, yes, it's like shit, you still have a collapsed lung and 5 broken ribs, but it's also like, this isn't anything worse than what we were projecting, so we're not putting you on the IR. So you might have Brees back if you're holding on to him. I'm guessing it's at least a 3-week injury. And that's 2 games against Atlanta. That's 2 of the best reasons to hold Drew Brees is for those games against Atlanta. It seems like that's going to be Jameis Winston time, and we'll talk about why that's so sexy in a little bit.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Excellent. All right. Moving on to another quarterback named Drew who's got ribs problems. Drew Lock, and this is another direct quote. He's going to try and play this week. All right. Well,
woo!
Break out the party poppers and the confetti, everybody. Drew Lock, that's Drew Lock of the Denver Broncos, is going to try and play this week. So everybody can just take it a little bit easy. You know, your drinks are going to taste a little bit better. Food is just going to smell better and go down your throat easier. Things are just starting to perk up a little bit because Drew Lock is going to try and play.
Exactly.
You can rest assured tomorrow on the Roto Street Journal website, there will be a banner in larger than average font saying Drew Lock of the Denver Broncos is going to try and play. And then there's not even going to be an article. We're just going to sit back and watch the clicks come in.
Exactly. Great. The ultimate generator of clicks. Kids in tonight to bed without reminding them that Drew Lock is going to try and play.
He's going to try and play this week.
Good night, little Serena. By the way, Drew Lock's going to try to play. And then she'll just have the sweetest of dreams of all time. It's huge news. It's crucial. As big as
any idea. So we're talking about this like it's a positive thing. Can you imagine what Drew Lock going to try and play could potentially look like?
It's going to be horrible. It's going to be
that scene in Fargo where they stuff the guy in the wood chipper.
Yes, exactly.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Oh yeah, he's had 2 useful games all year, and they were both against bottom 5 defenses. Other than that, we've got 13, -1, 5, 15, and 11. You're not playing Drew Lock at this point. I know a lot of people went in for him last week against the Raiders, a seemingly great-looking matchup. Didn't get it done. There's no reason to be excited about this. There's no reason that it really matters other than stream up and fire up Miami's defense, who he's going against this week, who's already been on a tear.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're gonna destroy that awful Broncos line, and Drew Lock going to try and play is going to be getting hit relentlessly. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be an ugly bloodbath. Hopefully, and Miami was out there in like, I want to say 40% of leagues earlier. They got to be one of the top 5 defensive plays this week. So yeah, Drew Lock is going to try to play, and it only really means something for your defensive streamers. That's about it.
All right, moving on. And this is a guy, we might chop this one up because people might actually be interested in this one. Alan Lazard, who's been gone for a long time with this core injury, which you don't see the core injury too often, but come to find out it's kind of a big deal. He was actually doing pretty well before he got put on IR. He was a legit threat for Rodgers, who I think Adams might have been on the shelf at that point. And Lazard was filling in pretty admirably. Either that or he was playing an admirable 2 to Adams' 1. But anyway, he's back. He's going to be eased back into the lineup. Do we believe it? Do we believe that he's going to be back? Do we believe that when he's back, they're going to ease him back in? And, I mean, you think this guy's got a pretty high upside potentially, right?
He's got a huge upside. Absolutely. I mean, 18, 8, and 26 fantasy points in his 3 starts. Wide receiver 16, 68, and 6. That's 2 top 2 wide receiver weeks in there. Wide receiver 2 weeks. That's fantastic. And he was the only real reliable, consistent threat outside of Devontae Adams that this team has had. I mean, Valdez-Scantling, we saw him go deep and have a huge play last week. Yay. We've also seen him drop 1 million balls. We've seen 1,000 death stares from Aaron Rodgers, ready to just literally slit his throat on the actual field. I think Lazard's going to step right back in. And yeah, they say they're going to ease him in, but they don't really have the options to ease him.
No, they don't.
They don't. And against Indy, I mean, that's a decent Indianapolis team. I can't imagine this game gets out of hand where you can only give them a smattering of snaps. Now, maybe, just maybe, they do put him on a pitch count. Their training staff is extremely cautious. So it would be tough for me to say, get him right back in your lineups and let's see what he does. But he was, as of yesterday, out there in 42% of leagues. He should be 75 to 100% owned at this point because the upside this guy has, the way that Rodgers is playing, and the schedule down the stretch isn't so bad at all. Chicago, tough matchup, but then Philly, Detroit, Carolina, Tennessee. A lot of those games sound like shootouts. A lot of them are against bottom 10 teams. Lazard could go on a very, very solid stretch run here. Again, for this week, if I can wait and see, I will. But he's still also in my top 50 receivers, right around like 44, 42 range. So there is definitely a scenario where if you got to play him, there's plenty of upside, a great end zone scorer, great deep speed. I mean, he is a complete package, whereas Marquez Valdez-Scantling can do one thing, stretch the field. He serves his role decent in that sense. Lazard is a complete package, and he's ready to go. I'm excited to see this guy get back on the field.
And I know I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I mean, playing opposite Devontae Adams, there could not be a better situation for a guy like him coming back. You cannot sag off Adams ever. I mean, He's routinely beating double teams for touchdowns. So it's not like they're going to be like, oh, let's shift a guy over onto Lazard and help him out. Lazard's going to have a lot of one-on-one. And, if he can make those plays, he's going to score some fantasy points. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And think about what it does for Rodgers, too. Who's already been top 3 almost every single week. Now he gets an even better weapons injection. Love it all. Love every single bit of it.
All right, that's going to do it for the trainer's room. We're going to get into our weekly higher, lower Hail Mary section. If we do end up doing clips of this, which I think we're going to break it down by position. So I'm going to higher, lower, Hail Mary, quarterback, and then so on. So we're going to get right into it. First, let's talk about a little bit of accountability before we do that, Wolf, because you were entering the week 32, 26, and 2. How'd you do last week? Who'd you whiff on? Who'd you do a good job with?
Yeah, so last week, remember, was our big strength of schedule stream for the trade deadline. Yeah.
Okay, so what about week 9? Let's talk week 9 accountability. Nothing?
Exactly.
Right.
So I actually did pretty solid last week. Ultimately ended at 7-3-2. So one of my better weeks.
Oh, wow.
I've always been in the green. I've always been more right calls than wrong calls. This was certainly one of the better ones. Quarterback went 2-1. I went Brees for the higher. He hit quarterback 13, exactly where I ranked him. Matty Ice was my lower. That was a loss. He ended up finishing quarterback 12. Despite Calvin Ridley missing that game in week 9, Drew Lock was my Hail Mary. The Drew Lock aforementioned, this was 2 weeks ago, remember? He went for 30 as my Hail Mary, so that was pretty damn sexy as much as we made fun of him there. He really came through. McKinnon was my –
I hate that you have McKinnon in any sort of positive thing. Keep in mind, folks, this was a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
So don't mortgage the farm because of this correct prediction by the Wolf.
Exactly. But
the guy might not
running
ever
back
play
7.
football.
He was the running back 7, and it was on Thursday Night Football. I remember it. I was like, all right, I got that one right. We were wrong about Tasty Hasty that week, though. Melvin Gordon was a huge win. I was lower on him. He was the running back 54, did nothing. Gus Edwards was my running back, my Hail Mary. Finishes the running back 27. Definitely a Hail Mary win there. So 3-0 at running back, 2-1 at quarterback, 1-1 at wide receiver. I had AB higher. He did not smash in his debut as I expected. DJ Moore was my lower. He was the wide receiver 82. That one panned out pretty well. And then Darnell Mooney's a tie there. I had as my Hail Mary. He was at 10 points, like okay. Finished like in your top 50-ish receivers. So it wasn't like a bust of a Hail Mary. When you go Hail Mary, you have to have a little bit of leeway. But I didn't want to call it a win either. So that was a tie. And then at tight end, John, who was a tie, he finished as a top 9 tight end. I said he was going to be the tight end 7. So I didn't want to give myself a win, but it was also pretty close. Andrews, I said, was the lower tight end. He finishes the tight end 28.
Right about that.
Big win, yes. And my Hail Mary that week, if anybody remembers. Was
I remember.
Jordan fucking Reed got me a nice 1 catch for 3 yards. So fuck him. Fuck his fucking pathetic body that breaks every time he gets cracked. I've already had the Jordan Reed rant. I don't need it right now. Nobody needs the Jordan Reed rant right now.
All right. So real quick, before we get into our high or lower Hail Marys for this week, I just want to ask you real quick, what's your standing right now in the fantasy competition? You were 4th a week ago. How did this week or this past week affect your standings? Because
I'm still at the top 5, but I'm number 5 now.
Okay.
I've fallen out of 4. A dude from the Action Network, Sean Cromer, who's unbelievable, just had a ridiculous week where he was like the number 1 or number 2 in week 11. So it wasn't necessarily that I did horrible. I think I finished 44th for week 11. So a decent week, nothing special. I actually really helped my receiver ranking. I got 7th in receivers for week 10. So
there's still a top 5 guy, though. Good for you.
Still top 5 for sure. Number 6 in running backs has been my specialty, top 20 for quarterbacks. But that wide receiver help was big. I was number 7 in week 11, and that jumped me up to like the top 40 in wide receivers. So I got to just keep churning at wide receivers, and I hopefully can get back to number 4, 3, 2. Hopefully I can keep climbing, but definitely want to defend the turf and get these right for you today, Wolfpack.
All right, let's get into quarterbacks. When we talk about our high or lower Hail Marys, the guy we referred to earlier, Jameis Winston, going up against the Falcons. The Wolves got him as his QB 10. That's 5 spots higher than the experts. As I said, I picked him up. I'm starting him over Ryan Tannehill. And I'm glad to have him. I got him for nothing. He was sitting right there. I don't think you really need to sell us on this, but I want you to sell us on him anyway.
It's one of those things where it's going to either be beautiful, and honestly, 10 is going to be way too low. You could finish top 3, or it's going to go down, as Taylor Swift has always said, down in flames, baby.
He's going to be 4 or like 30.
It could exactly. There's really no middle ground.
There's no 10. He's not going to be 10. Let's be real.
We're getting with Jameis Winston, but this is me saying I think it's going to be towards the higher side of it. The most compelling case for that is the Falcons. Number 1 in terms of points allowed to quarterbacks, and it hasn't really been that close. And Jameis Winston historically has been very good against the Falcons, and they were better Falcons defenses than what he's seeing. His career averages against them, 66% completion rate, which is fantastic for him, 8.7 yards per attempt, 25 TDs to 9 interceptions, which is crazy considering he was in the 30-30 club last year. This is one team he's actually protected the ball quite well with, and a 109.1 passer rating. So he gets them at home. This is going to be the perfect spot for him to ease on into the lineup. He gets all his full weapons cabinet with Michael Thomas obviously being back now, Sanders, Jared Cook. The only risk here is how involved is Taysom Hill going to be? I don't think, that's always a risk. And Sean Payton's deciding to play it coy and be like, I'm not going to name my starter until Sunday. Thanks, Sean. It's fucking Jameis. Let's be real here. So ultimately, it's just such a great smash spot for this guy in terms of matchup. And we've obviously seen the gunslinging ability when he has big towers outside, which he's got some great weapons. He's got the ultimate play caller. I don't think we're going to see like Bruce Arians, that's not a Sean Payton offense, but this guy does have a rope. Sean Payton's smart enough to cater it to what he does well, and that's letting it fly, getting the weapons to, the ball to his big weapons here. And I think Jameis is going to come right back into a top 10, potentially even top 5 day matchup and talent-wise.
All right, so I hit you with this earlier. If Jameis Winston was a woman and you're trying to pick him up in a bar, what would he look like? Because you talked about how you're into him and that terrifies you. Try to translate that into it like a woman you're trying to pick up.
Man, that. I should have given him some more thoughts as I was busy talking about the injuries. This is a tough one because, again, it's like top 5.
He's sexy, right? I mean, he's a good-looking lady.
Exactly. And it's one of those things where it's like he's going to give you the best night of your life some nights. Like you're going to be in love. They're going to stay and cuddle and you're going to just have a night, just the entire night, multiple times. It's going to be fantastic. And then there's going to be a morning or two where they're going to wake up, boot you in the balls, grab your wallet, and just book it.
And slash your tires on the way out. And you're going to be pissed, but you're going to be like, fuck, that's my fault for even going there in the first place. Like, exactly.
You knew you were getting into some trouble. You wanted to either have the best night of your life or you knew you were ready for that worst morning. That's what Jameis Winston is. You know you're getting yourself into some trouble, but it could also be the most beautiful experience of your life. And I think we're going to get one of those nights that you don't forget coming up on this.
One way or another, you're not going to forget it. That's right.
Exactly.
All right. Quarterback lower. You didn't have really strong feelings on this one. You went with Carson Wentz going against the Browns. You got him as your QB 16. That's 3 spots below the experts. We don't have to spend a ton of time on this. But why'd you feel like he was getting a little overrated by the supposed experts?
Yeah, the thing is he had a nice stretch right in the middle of the season where he was, banging out 29 pointers. Lately, though, against Dallas and the Giants, not really that threatening of matchups. 11 points bye week, doesn't get it right, goes for 9, 24 and 24. That's with all his weapons back. Like, he just looks like fucking shit. Let's call a spade a spade. I know what I saw. Like that's the truth line there.
Can we make truth shirts that say I know what I saw?
I saw what I saw. Like He looked fucking terrible when you just watch the dude play. And it's not like Cleveland's this crazy matchup, but they bleed clock. Like they control that game with their running game, and they don't give you a ton of chances to rack up points because of that. And so he's going to have to be efficient. He's going to have to be accurate. He's going to have to do his damage. And he really hasn't been any of those 3 for any consistent stretch of 2020. I also think, their line is so far and away from what it used to be, and now even more banged up. I think that's what the big catalyst to these last couple games has been, is a banged up line. Dallas was getting to him, and they have a horrible pass rush. The Giants were all over him. Cleveland has Myles Garrett, maybe the best pass rusher in the league. So he's going to be under duress. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in terms of his numbers when he's under pressure. I think he's going to be under pressure all day, and I think he's not going to have too many chances because Cleveland's just going to control the clock all day against him. So I think quarterback 16, the fact that they have him in their top 12 is like a quarterback 1 doesn't make much sense to me. I'm not into Carson Wentz this week.
Me either. All right, so when we go to a Hail Mary, obviously a guy that everyone's pulling for. I know it's cliche at this point and it's been overused, but it's true. Alex Smith going against the Bengals. You got him as your QB 21, I believe. The Bengals obviously not known for their lockdown defense. He threw 55 passes last week, and 390 yards, which I know is a career high, at least the 390. I assume the pass attempts are too. If you're going to take a long shot on somebody, he seems like a reasonable guy to take one with.
Absolutely. Against a defense, nonetheless, that's allowing the 4th most points to quarterbacks. If you get 50 pass attempts plus, it's going to ultimately be a monstrous performance. The fact that he didn't get to the end zone once with those 55 is mildly concerning, but ultimately, Gibson capped off some great drives. Smith looked comfortable. He looked good. The line held up decently well. It was against Detroit, so we won't, go crazy, but this is also against Cincinnati, who's even worse in terms of points allowed to quarterbacks. I also think Burrow, he's due for a rebound. They had a shitty ass game. Burrow plays some great ball. I think this could be one of those sneaky games that nobody thinks looks good for fantasy purposes. Washington, the Bengals, gross teams that ends up being like 30-30, like one of those shootout style games. And if that ends up being the case, again, Alex Smith, 55, like you said, whopping pass attempts, by far the most last week. I mean, the most team, the Cowboys right now, on average pass attempts per game is at 40. So 15 above the average in terms of pass attempts. If we see that again against this Bengals defense, it's going to be crazy. And even if not, even if he comes crashing down, and when we say crashing down, his only other start, he threw it 32 times. That's still, above league average in terms of throws per game. He just hasn't been finding the end zone. He only has 1 TD in these 2 starts. But if that happens, 16 fantasy points without a touchdown.
It's pretty good.
Insane. You add 2 touchdowns to that, you're at 24. He's a top 6 quarterback for the week. And that totally can happen with the weapons he has. They're McKissick's balling. Logan Thomas is a big body. And obviously McLaurin's an absolute monster. Sneaky upside to Alex Smith with the matchup and the volume that he's going to hopefully see.
All right, moving on to running backs. Sullivan, Ahmed. He was on our waiver wire, obviously the top of pretty much everybody's waiver wire last week after he got the nod for the Dolphins and did a really good job. Got the vast majority of the snaps, a lot of carries, scored. He's going against Denver, whose supposedly good running defense is not supposedly good. It's not. And so it's just not going to happen. Seems like they're going to fold like a shitty poker hand or whatever the hell. Whatever. Someone could probably come up with a better analogy than that, but that's all I got off the top of my head. You got him as your RB20. That's 5 spots higher than the experts. I'm going to be honest. I'm surprised you don't have him higher.
Yeah, I've considered it. It's a good running back week, though, when you look at it. Like, Damien Harris is my 18, and he's facing Houston. He
looks good, huh?
Like, I love Harris. Oh, he's going to steamroll Houston. It's less about me not liking Sullivan as it is. There's just a lot of good options at running back this week, and him being one of them. I'm surprised the experts are down at 25 on this guy. Again, the running back 14 last week out of nowhere, 21 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. But as you alluded to, Truth, it's more so about the percentage that this guy had. 44 of 58 snaps at 75%, 84% of the team's backfield carries. The next closest guy, DeAndre Washington, had exactly 2 touches. So he is the clear guy. Breida is going to be back, which is like, okay, how does this backfield shake out? But it's kind of been a one-man show all year. And that's Chan Gailey, when he had Fred Jackson, CJ Spiller, a little bit of the committee, but he still rode Fred Jackson for a nice 16 to 20 touches a game. And that's the role that Ahmed's looking like. If Breida is going to be anything, it's going to be that Spiller, the electricity role, which Breida, again, he's been hurt all this fucking time. So I don't expect that at all. And you also said Denver Broncos, not so good run D. Yeah, they were vaunted for a few weeks, but they also didn't face a whole lot of competition. We just saw 2 running backs go above 20 points against them. Josh Jacobs and then also Devontae Booker had 20 fantasy points against this team. They were taking horrible angles. They were letting huge receiving chunk gains all day. And Sullivan Ahmed, like, nothing special, but can do everything decently well and reads the blocks decently well. And the way this, as we said with Drew Lock, that huge intro we talked about earlier, I think this defense is going to swallow this team, which is just going to lead to tons and tons of bleeded out time for Sullivan Ahmed. So I'm a big fan of him this week. And you're right. Maybe I need to bump him up a little bit more. I think if you picked him up on waiver wires, get him right into the lineups.
Did we mention CJ Spiller for the second week in a row?
Just for you, Truth.
I think we might have. All right, let's go to the guy you're lower on, and I support this, by the way. Ezekiel Elliott. How the mighty have fallen, huh? Running back 22 for the Wolf, 8 spots below the experts. I mean, for the experts to have him 14th, that's still how the mighty has fallen. This is like a consensus top 3 guy anywhere. And, God, he's just been reduced to like, dancing for nickels on the street corner while people toss change in like an old hat. What the hell's going on?
And it's not even a good dance, Nat. It's not even a good dance.
He's kind of swaying side to side. You think he might have had a little, I don't know.
It's just sad to watch almost. Like he was once one of those street performers everyone crowded for and paid all the big bucks to see him. Now he's just the one that you're like, damn, like, do I give him a pity quarter? Like, this is sad to see where you've come.
You don't want to make eye contact with him. You just kind of like shuffle by and look at the ground.
Like, you put him in your lineup, and that's exactly what it feels like. It's like, oh, no. And then you bench him, and it's the same thing. Like, it's a gross spot to be in. But honestly, I think there's 21 and maybe even more running backs that I'd rather play than him this week. And there's a lot of reasons why. One, that health still isn't fully there. He said he was feeling stiffness in his hamstring still, despite the bye week. Not great. Nobody wants a stiff hamstring. But the other things are, one, the declining snap rate. The first 5 weeks when Dak was in, everything was going smooth. 88%, 93%, 98%, 77%, and 82% of the snaps. Last 4, 61%, 66%, 78%, 65%. So clearly the lowest 4 games of the year, 3 of them being under 70% the only times this year. So it hasn't been great, and it's also led to a severe decline in fantasy points. A lot of that is because of the quarterback play, but it's not like Dalton's going to come in and resurrect him. His best game over that 4-game stretch was with Dalton, so I'll give you that. But his best game was 12 fantasy points, and he was the PPR RB18. Since then, he's also been the RB39, RB35, and RB30. He hasn't hit double digits in 3 straight games. I think we're putting him at 14 because it's Ezekiel Elliott. We see the name, and it's like, yeah, I got to respect the guy.
It's crazy, though.
It's crazy. He hasn't done a damn thing in 4 straight weeks, and nothing about his situation is better. In fact, he's feeling worse. His stiffness is still there, and Tony Pollard has looked pretty good. He's bursting pretty well. I could see a similar situation where the Cowboys are like, this isn't going anywhere. Let's see what we have in Pollard because we know what we have in Zeke for the future, and those snaps might even become a little bit closer. Definitely lower on Zeke Elliott this week.
If Carlos Hyde's playing, would you start Carlos Hyde or Zeke?
Carlos Hyde, definitely.
Wow, didn't even hesitate.
Carlos Hyde and Sullivan Ahmed, I have over that's how crazy the times are. Is I'm playing a dude named Sullivan Ahmed, JD McKissick, like these creatures that nobody even knew who they were coming into the season are now being ranked ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. That tells you what fantasy football has become in 2020.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, well, speaking of Carlos Hyde, he's your Hail Mary. You got him going against Arizona. He's 21% owned, 5% started, so possibly available. As Carson's status becomes a little more up in the air, those numbers may go up. So if you're going to snap him up, maybe now's the time to do it. Also, LaMichael, and I always pronounce this wrong, but Pirine, 30% owned, 7% started. Might want to take a chance with him a little bit. Which one of these guys do you like more, Hyde?
Yeah, Hyde definitely, if he's the guy. It felt like almost like cheating because it seems so easy. That, the fact that he's, like you said, 21% owned, 5% started, I think both of those numbers rise significantly if and when Carson's confirmed out tomorrow. So that felt like cheating. I just wanted to point it out again. 17 points against Arizona in 3 quarters last time. Now he's probably going to get the full game. And running backs have scored a touchdown in every single game except one this year for Seattle. Hyde should be the Lions' share of all that work, including the receiving work, because Travis Homer is looking doubtful for the game. I don't worry about Alex Collins or DJ Dallas. I think this is going to be the Hyde show. And anybody getting 15 touches in the Seahawks offense is always worth it. So I thought that was kind of too easy. So I wanted to also toss out Pirine. He's nothing great, nothing special. He's had one decent game this year. But there was a sneaky report that emerged. And I want to throw out Hail Marys that, like, even if they don't pan out, could provide upside to just have on your bench regardless. And Pirine, the latest report is that he's going to be the team's featured back down the remainder of the season. Of ESPN, their beat writer Rich Simony.
Wow.
Yeah. Woo.
Featured back, huh?
Featured back for the Jets, baby.
Wow. That's
Sprint
fantastic.
on down. Sprint on down.
Yeah, you're going to want to get a piece of that right now.
Oh, yeah, the sexiest of ground.
You want to get in on the ground floor when it comes to featured back on the New York Jets. That's for sure.
Exactly. But again, at the end of the day, how hideous that is, we can make light of it. We can laugh at it.
Oh, I'm making light of it.
Volume is volume. And especially at running back, there's nothing more like highly correlated than snaps and running back fantasy production, more so than any other position, not even close.
Right.
And if this dude's going to be on the field, if they're giving him this tryout run to see what they have, I don't necessarily trust Adam Gase to actually ever do something that smart. But ultimately, it's a good matchup for the guy this week. He could conceivably be their featured back, and a featured back is a featured back is a featured back. So at only 7% started, I could see him helping out a lot more lineups, and he's probably going to this week.
I'm pretty sure, speaking of not trusting Adam Gase to do something smart, I'm pretty sure that in a couple weeks ago, hypothetical, you chose to let DK Metcalf beat the ever-loving fuck out of you than have Adam Gase make life decisions for you for a year. Yep. So, no, I also don't trust Adam Gase to do anything. Exactly. And on that note, we'll end running backs. Let's move on to wide receivers. Guy you're higher on, Manny Sanders, who I had early in the year, like really early in the year, and then I dropped because it was a hate cut. I admit it. He's going against the Falcons. He's the wide receiver 35, according to the Wolf. That's 11 spots higher than the experts. I'm going to say, again, as I said earlier, I'm surprised that both you and the experts aren't a little higher on Manny, especially the experts. I mean, you're higher than them, but I'm surprised he's not a top 30 guy. I'd have to see the list.
Exactly. The list is a little bit deeper than you'd expect, but still, the fact that he's at wide receiver 46 in the ECR kind of blows my mind. He's matched up against Atlanta and honestly has been very productive all year. A lot of that did, yes, come with Michael Thomas off the field. But let's look at that. Wide receiver 29 with 16 points. Wide receiver 23 with 15. Wide receiver 9 with 24. Wide receiver 33 with 14. And he gets Atlanta, the easiest matchup for quarterbacks, the third easiest for wide receivers. So Michael Thomas coming back, like, yes, that will impact that. But he also has Emmanuel Sanders, the highest scoring receiver game, that wide receiver 33, 14-point performance I just alluded to. That's higher than anything Michael Thomas has put out since coming back. And I'm not sitting here suggesting that now Manny Sanders is suddenly their number one and I'd rather have him. No, but Michael Thomas is going to draw the number one coverage. And against Atlanta, not that really matters, but you're just getting that much worse. And if gunslinging Jameis, if he's my high quarterback of the week and I think he's going to throw for, 350 and 2 to 3 touchdowns, you better believe Manny Sanders is getting 60 to 70 of that with a score. I love Manny Sanders this week. I think he is as great of a wide receiver 3, like solid floor and a blow up ceiling. Like if he ends up being the guy over Mike Thomas this week, which is certainly within the realm of possibilities, the way Michael Thomas has played so far this year, I could see Manny Sanders lighting it up this week. I love him. I love him.
Jameis is a gunslinger, and you're watching him across the bar. There's no question about it. He's an attention getter.
Very tempting.
All right, guys, you're lower on. We got a couple. We got Jarvis Landry, and we got Devontae Parker. Landry, you got your wide receiver 46. That's 10 below the experts. Neither one of you love him that much. Devontae Parker, you got him as your 33. That's 5 below the experts. So neither of these are guys that anyone is super, super high on, but you like them less than the experts.
Yeah, because it came down to me to like these guys might be part of sit-start decisions, and I really don't think either should be in lineups at all. That's why I put Landry on here. Is like obviously my wide receiver 46 shouldn't be spent much time on, but at wide receiver 36, he's at least in people's minds as like a wide receiver 3. And I don't buy that at all because he hasn't been close to that all season. He's been – listen to this. I know it gets annoying to hear me just keep saying like the wide receiver finish of ever. Wide receiver 36, 67, 63, 24, his best week of the year, 30, 50, 45, 45, 62. His best game has been wide receiver 24, and he's been below 36, in fact, below 45 in –
like he's getting stuff. He's getting attention from people based on reputation. And it's like, what reputation? When he was on the Dolphins like 3 years ago and he caught a bunch of short passes, it seems like that's what he's making a living on. I don't even get it. He's so far removed from being a real factor. I don't even understand why he's getting the reputation bump anymore.
It doesn't deserve it at all. And these matchups have been easy. Like it's not like he's faced this brutal murderer's row of games and now he's going to finally emerge. He's had 6 of his games have come against bottom 10 teams, and he's been a bottom 45 receiver in almost all of them. 67 against Cincinnati, 4th worst against receivers. 62 against Houston, 3rd worst against receivers. Like this guy has had opportunity after opportunity to get it done in these great rosy matchups, no Odell, and he's still sucking complete dick. So why would he ever be in a lineup? Why would he ever be top 36 and like a wide receiver 35 in the ECR? Makes legitimately no sense to me. It honestly felt too easy. That's the only reason I included Devontae Parker, because I was like, hey, that's an easy W. There's no way Landry does jack shit. I just want to make sure nobody's that listens to this podcast ever is even considering starting Jarvis Landry. Parker more so might be in people's minds, but listen to this one. I mean, in the 4 games, he's got 21 games with Ryan Fitzmagic over the last 2 years and 4 games without him. He averages almost 15 points per game with Ryan Fitz, which is, I think, the wide receiver 3-4 number territory. He's almost 5 points lower per game when Ryan Fitz isn't there. We've already seen with Tua, he's had a pathetic flow of targets under Tua so far. He had 1 game where he had 7 targets, 6 catches, 64 yards. Other than that, he has 1 catch, 3 yards, and granted, it came for a touchdown, so he had 7 points.
So what? That's still shitty.
2 catches for 31 yards, 5 points and 7 points in PPR leagues in 2 of his starts, and 12 is his grand, beautiful total. Hasn't been above wide receiver 39 since Tua took over. I mean, it's just he had his guy that was his gunslinger and lobbied up to his big body, and that's not Tua's game. Tua finds the open guy, he dinks, he's cautious, he's careful with the ball. He'll take, he'll throw it out of bounds rather than hum it into traffic like Brian Fitzmagic does. And it's less fun to watch. It's better football, for real life wise, but fantasy wise, it's hamstring and Devontae Parker and really any viable passing weapon in that game. So I think he's on the bench until we actually see him get it done with Tua, and I'm not convinced we really will.
All right, Hail Mary, Jalen Reagor. You got us all to pick him up. He does look okay. He's 25% owned, 7% started. The Eagles need something. Man, they're terrible. I feel like his biggest limitation might be Carson Wentz right now because I do see the talent. You also got Brashard Perriman on here who's 10% owned. You say he's a solid bet if he plays. So I don't know. I know the case for Reagor. Maybe you can add a little something more to that, but talk to us about Perriman too.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about Reagor, and it's largely just a viable threat everywhere on the field. Can do it after the catch, can do it at the point of the attack. And we haven't seen him fully used to that ability. But, man, is he an athletic freak, a specimen that has made highlight plays throughout camp. And we just haven't seen it fully explode. But I think against Cleveland, a team that's really been susceptible to the big play, that, Denzel Ward's great, but he stays on his side. 90% of his snaps come at that left corner spot. And Reagor moves all over the place. So, yeah, he'll see some Denzel Ward. But that's the thing with Reagor is he's in the slot. They use him so creatively. He had 7 targets, which isn't anything great, but a team high last week. Ran a team high 92 passer on 92.7% of the dropbacks. We're just seeing this game start to flow more and more and more. He has yet to be a top 30 receiver. So I get that this is kind of, he hasn't even been better than 55 yards yet. But all the usage trends are all going his way. We talk about expected fantasy points. They're trending his way. And I think Cleveland's the one defense. And I know I'm low on Wentz, but if somebody's going to do anything, I could see it really being Jalen Reagor. Even with all the weapons back, he was the team leading receiver last week in terms of usage-wise. I think this could be the week he actually pops. But he might be gone. He's 25% owned, only 7% started. If he's gone, I don't hate Brashard Perriman at all. Last time out, if anybody missed that one on Monday, I know you didn't miss it because you had the defense, and you watched this guy slap him around on Monday Night Football. Brashard Perriman, he had 100 yards and 2 touchdowns for 27 fantasy points.
Yeah, I know.
Wide receiver 6 last time out. And Flacco's starting again. They had a Bond back in Baltimore. Nothing great because he wasn't anything in Baltimore, Brashard Perriman. But they had a chemistry. We saw that kind of carry over. And again, a guy that we've seen play at alpha levels. The Chargers are a decent defense against wide receivers. So it's like a bottom 7 or 8 matchup. But as a defensive whole, they're giving up like the 3rd or 4th most to quarterbacks. So I don't really know how that gap exists. And they're not that bad at tight end. They can give up big plays. And I think Brashard Perriman is due for some big plays, only 10% owned. So if Reagor's not out there, if that one was too easy, I think Brashard Perriman, my wide receiver 48, that's 10 spots higher than the ECR right now, makes a very viable Hail Mary punt that could come on big for you.
All right, that's going to do it for wide receivers. Let's get into tight ends, and then we're going to hit that mailbag. Guy you're higher on, Hayden Hurst. We've talked about how just god-awful shitty tight ends are. So if you can get anybody that elevates above the pack even a little bit, that's certainly worth your time to listen to. You got Hurst going against Atlanta as your tight end 5. That's 4 spots higher than the experts. It's actually a significant difference, 5th and 9th, when you're talking about guys up at this position. Why do you like Hurst more than they do?
Yeah, I really wanted to emphasize him because I get a lot of questions, Jonnu or Hurst or this guy. I think Hurst is in a great spot. 1, New Orleans is bottom 7 against tight ends. They've been very generous to the position. But 2, Hurst gets volume that very few tight ends see. 7 targets or more in 3 straight games. 6, 5, 7 catches, 68, 54, 62 yards. Nothing amazing, but 16, 13, 10, and 13 for PPR points at the tight end position. All top 10 days. He hasn't been outside the top 10 in 4 straight weeks. That's a very, very nice floor. So I bake that into the ceiling that comes with facing New Orleans and what I expect to be a shootout-style game if I love Jameis as much as I do. If this game becomes a points bonanza, they're going to need to factor in the fact that Calvin Ridley might be out if he's in maybe at less than 100%. I think Hayden Hurst could definitely see the path to 8 to 10 targets because Matty Ryan might have to chuck it 40 to 45 times. And in a soft matchup, the fact that the Saints are allowing 5.3 receptions per game to tight ends, I really think he could rack up another 7, 8 catches, maybe find pay dirt and get you a nice 15-point day Really big fan of Hayden Hurst. The ceiling's not crazy, but the floor is so stable at such an unstable position. And the ceiling is still, 16-ish points. I like it a lot.
All right. Well, this next one hurts me a little bit. Tight end lower. Dallas Goedert going against Cleveland. You got him as your tight end 12, 5 spots below the experts. Look, I'm not going to lie to you. I picked this guy up because you were so high on him a couple weeks back because he was coming off IR. There was all this talk, and I thought, well, my tight end situation's terrible, but I'm going to grab this guy. What a slick play this is going to be. This is going to probably be the difference maker in some of these games. Man, he's been terrible.
Terrible.
Like to the point where he got like 7 PPR points last week, and I was like, ooh, not bad.
Seriously. Just like, the fact that he squeaked out 7 last week was like a godsend because there was like at halftime, I think
it was going to be 0, I think, at halftime. I think he had 0 points. And I was like, oh my God. And then he got like 3 catches for 40 yards or something.
I don't get what it is either because the narrative makes
Is it that Wentz sucks or is it him?
I think it's more Wentz. I don't think he sucks because I you know how it is as a fantasy owner where you like laser in on your guy and you watch him and you're just like, every play I watch him, he's wide open. Now maybe that's owner bias because I'm just like, throw it to fucking my guy.
Throw him the fucking ball.
Throw him the fucking ball. That's kind of what it comes down to. As I watch him every play and I see this dude looking great. Like he's burning linebackers. He's getting deep. He's working the middle of the field and he's just not seeing the balls. Ultimately, all the narratives line up. Frank Reich loves to pepper tight ends, or not Frank Reich anymore. Doug Peterson, Frank Reich, all together. That's part of their scheme. That's the offense they've all been raised on. So, no Zach Ertz. All those targets are going to go to Dallas Goedert, right? Well, Dick Rod fucking comes in and leads the team in receiving with 4 catches and 60 yards. Insanity. And that's what this fucking
year. The fact that led the team in receiving should tell you something also.
Exactly. Isn't that just disgusting? The Browns, give up a decent amount in terms of receptions per game, 5.7 to tight ends. I imagine we're going to see some balls go to the tight end position. But how can you trust this guy? I think everyone's ranking him. The fact that he's a top 7 tight end this week is like everyone's ranking him on what we expected him to be, what all the narratives suggest he should be. But we just got to open our eyes and see
him, Jarvis Landry, and Zeke.
Exactly. We just have to open our eyes and see that Dick Rod is their leading fucking receiver. And that's all you really fucking need to know at this point. I don't want anything to do with this offense other than maybe Jalen Reagor going deep and blowing up.
Remember when they beat the Patriots in the Super Bowl?
Fuck you.
Hail Mary, Kyle Rudolph, 6% owned. Man, speaking of guys that used to be somebody and aren't anybody anymore, he's 6% owned. He's going against Dallas. Obviously, that's intriguing in itself. I mean, you got anything else to say except he's going against Dallas? And I mean, the Vikings looked okay in their last football game.
That's about it. Dallas is horrible. Vikings look decent. Irv Smith's going to be out. I wouldn't recommend, Irv Smith should be out at least with a groin injury. If Irv Smith plays, then all bets are off because Irv Smith is the one getting the red zone looks, getting the pass game usage. But with him out last week, we did see 4 catches, 63 yards. I mean, 10 points. He did fumble it, so I guess he ended up at 8. He had 8 points and he was the tight end 12 last week is what you need to know about the position. But in an even easier matchup against Dallas, 10 points to the position. If Irv Smith's out, I bet we see a pay dirt call from Kyle Rudolph. I could see him to 50, 60 yards. You're looking at 12 to 15 fantasy points from a guy that's 6% owned right now at a position that nobody can figure out. I think Kyle Rudolph, if Irv Smith's out, is going to be one of the best tight end plays you could have, especially that's available on the waiver wire. If you're desperate, stash this guy and let's see if Irv Smith plays.
Yeah, you remind me of the way we're talking about the tight end position. I'm thinking now it's like you're like, oh, if he scores 12, 15 points, that's great for him. And it's like the bar is so low for tight ends now. You're looking for anything. I don't know. Do you ever watch Family Guy?
Sometimes. Oh yeah, I used to.
There's an episode where Peter decides that he's converting the family to Judaism. And so Stewie goes to like an all Jewish preschool or something. And at one point they're in PE class and the ball rolls in front of him and Stewie like stares at it for a second. And then he just kicks the ball and it goes like 8 inches or something. And then the next scene is just this big statue of Stewie that like in gold that just says Stewie Griffin, greatest Jewish athlete ever or something like that. It's like, I feel like that's where we're at with tight ends right now. It's like, Dallas Goedert had 7 points last week. Hello. Tight end 3. Right.
Yeah. Want to take that one home? You should.
Right.
Oh my
Anyway,
God.
let's get into the mailbag. We've had a bunch of people waiting for an hour to get into this, and I know we got some of our loyal guys hanging around. I promise I'll have a hypothetical next week. My Wednesday schedule, for a guy that is not have a regular 9-to-5 job is actually extremely busy.
All right, folks. So we are getting into that mailbag. Again, if you're new and you don't mind giving this a thumbs up, or better yet, if you haven't subscribed yet on YouTube, put that bell on Facebook, really anywhere. If you're willing to subscribe to all our socials, it helps us out, makes us look that much better to have more followers. And of course, the thumbs up button gets us out to more people. So comment in your questions. We're going to rip through them all now. Truth, before I get into the questions, I just have to ask, have you seen the show, The Queen's Gambit yet?
Yeah, I've seen it all. I watched it.
It's fucking awesome. I'm 4 episodes in so far. It's amazing.
It's great. You'll love it. It's 7 episodes. It's, contained in one season as far as I can tell. Yes, I watched it. I really enjoyed it. I'm glad to hear you liked it too. I didn't know whether it would be up your alley, so I hadn't suggested it, but I really liked it.
It's awesome. It's such a well-written show. So anybody out there, watch Queen's Gambit. If you
the lead actress is fantastic too.
Yeah. We got to get that Melting on the Couch podcast.
You say the word. You know that I came on to RSJ initially as a TV guy that loves fantasy football, but I'm hoping we'll dip into that once we hit it a little bigger.
No doubt. Wolfpack, if you have any TV shows you want, like fantasy shows made around, let us know, because that's going to be our next big venture once this thing is really taken off. Fantasy TV is going to be the fucking shit. But yeah, let's get to your questions. That's why you're here, not about our future.
Danny Jennings, what's up, Wolf and the Truth? Not much. I love when you get in the first comment slot.
I love such
street cred for that,
baby. Yeah. And that's a classic one, Danny Jennings.
Kyle Tuneberg, hey guys, how we doing? Still feeling like a slug, man. I am beat.
Yeah,
I'm beat.
Totally. After this week and those losses we explained, definitely feeling sluggish. Nobody's more sluggish than you tunes. Danny Jennings beating you to the first comment punch. Come on now.
I know. Mitch Chavez, good evening, Wolf and the Truth. Good evening, Mitch. Good to have you back in the comments section. Thanks for watching.
Just 3 legends back to back.
Seriously.
Chavez, like the big guns showed up right away. I love it.
Angel Box, what's up, Wolf and Truth? Speaking of legends, thank you, Angel Box. We appreciate it. Angel Box 1. Sorry, not to be confused with regular Angel Box.
Absolutely.
Charlie Preble, sup, Wolf.
New emerging fan that hit me up in the DMs recently. I love when fans are like nice and polite, like thank you so much. Charlie Preble seems like a stand-up human. So Charlie, thank you.
Guy you'd like to bring home to mom, right? Yes. Craig Sarno, what's up, boys? Happy Wednesday. With all of you, what do you have going on? Why aren't you shit-faced, Wolf? How do you know he's not, Craig?
Yeah, that's a bold assumption to think I'm not. No, it's Wednesday, and if this was like 4 years earlier, I might be, but I've come to the point where like I have to really plan out my hangovers. Like,
yeah,
they're so day ruining and crippling. Like I'll be in bed for a week sometimes with bad hangovers. So the hangover that this pain I'm feeling right now from fantasy deserves, I have to reserve for like a Friday night where I don't have to work at all. But it's coming. Don't you worry. Maybe on the Friday DFS show, I'll get the weekend kicked off with you, Craig.
What you don't see, Craig, is that under the table, he's been all episode, he's been cramming 80% THC suppositories up his ass.
Right here, baby. Yeah, exactly. Melting the pain away. Right up the buttle.
Danny Jennings, those are real, by the way. I don't know if they're 80%, but yeah. Oh, absolutely. They exist. You Google it. It's a thing. Danny Jennings, is Damien Harris going to play this week? This is the first actual football question we've had.
Yeah, right. It seems likely, right? He's listed as questionable, but he's been listed as questionable for like 3 straight weeks. I expect he plays, and I think you have to get him right in the lineup. Facing Houston, we just saw the Cleveland Browns steamroll them, as they do most teams, but the Texans have given up by far the most rushing yards on the ground. That's exactly where Bill's going to attack them. Damien Harris pounding it up. I love Damien Harris this week.
Kyle Tuneberg fell from 3rd to 5th after the loss this week.
Brutal.
That is brutal. I'm assuming you get 4 playoff teams. We actually have 5 playoff teams in my league. First seed gets a bye, and that's it. And I've fallen from 1st, I believe, to 4th. So yeah. I'm struggling as well. Hopefully, both of us can turn it around, Tunes.
Hey, you're not in like 10th clawing yourself in fucking because you got Hail Married by a fucking.
No, because I didn't spend the bank on McCaffrey. I didn't say like I gotta have this guy. I didn't do that.
First world fantasy problems.
Right, it
assholes.
is. It really is. It's true.
Oh, not 5th place, assholes.
Mitch Chavez, let's get it. Got Kelsey and Carson last night in a trade. Well, condolences, Mitch. I have Carson too. In a trade after that one you helped me get with and only gave up Hill and Hawkinson. Looking great going forward. I mean, yeah, if Carson plays at some point, you win this thing absolutely going away because we've talked about what an edge Kelsey gives you. Even as great as Tyreek is, you'd way rather have Kelsey, right, Wolf?
100%. And honestly, it's like if you just told me you got Kelsey for Hill and Hawkinson, like I'd say you probably lost the trade, but it wasn't that unfair. So
I actually would say you probably won the trade.
Right. So to add in Carson, yes, it's a headache right now, but Carson was the running back, 5 or 6 in fantasy?
He was top 10.
He was a monster. He scored, 8 touchdowns in 8 weeks. He's a beast. So ultimately, especially because I know Mitch is like in good shape in his leagues too, I think this is a no-brainer move, especially when you look at Kelsey's playoff schedule. Like that's a fantastic, fantastic move. I just wish Carson was playing for you. Well, not this week because I need Carlos Hyde to be a beast, but otherwise, I wish Carson was playing for you.
Jeremiah Moore. Once again, I seriously hate Mixon. So do I. I've been saying it since last year. I've been saying it since before he was drafted, dude. So we're on the same page.
Yeah, he's really fucking you, Jeremiah. You got to just stop drafting guys you hate. Like,
I literally will not touch this guy. One of my buddies, Johnny Goodtimes, was trying. Another of my buddies, he specifically likes drafting guys with criminal pasts. Like he loves filling his team with criminals. And so my buddy Johnny Goodtimes tried to bid him up in the auction for Mixon, and then at the last minute, my criminal-loving buddy just stopped bidding. So Johnny got stuck with him for like a pretty high king's ransom there.
That's certainly not looking good right now.
No, it's brutal.
But cheers, Jeremiah. Good to see you as always. A consistent regular. Him and Sarno. We got all the legends here tonight.
Daniel Howland, pick 3 to start. Boyd, DK, Juju, Deontay Johnson. Well, DK, obviously.
Yeah, you're starting DK tomorrow night.
I don't think you can ever not. I mean, gosh, it'd be tough to sit Deontay Johnson, wouldn't it?
It certainly would, yeah. And then I probably – so I think I have Juju higher than Boyd. I have him, I believe, 16 and 18. So they're really close. I think if you have one Steelers in, it's not ideal to go 2, even though these last couple of weeks, I mean, that's a great strategy. And the matchup this week against the Jaguars, both could go off.
Yeah.
I like Boyd, though. I talked about, I think that Washington-Cincinnati game could really shoot out Daniel. And by the way, another legend. A lot of legends showing up early tonight. I go DK, Deontay, and Boyd. Yeah. I mean, I really have a hard time sitting Juju, though.
Yeah, I do the same thing you did just for the probably not going to start 2 Steelers. Although, I mean, shoot, everybody on the Steelers scored last week. So
right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it's one of those. It's similar to the Bucs. It's like one of those passing games where you can kind of get away with starting multiple options. I still probably go for the upside though. It still lowers your ceiling a little bit. I go Deontay, DK, Boyd, Daniel. So I benched Juju begrudgingly because I still love him. He's playing.
Craig Sarno, assuming health, I know I'm starting Ridley, so I need to sit one of these: Crowder, Robbie, and Rager. Half-point PPR. I don't think you can sit Robbie.
Nope, I agree. I'd probably sit Rager as much as my Hail Mary of the week. Like
I'd sit him too, grudgingly.
Yeah, I like Rager, but like again, he's a Hail Mary for a reason. Like if you don't have to use him, I wouldn't. And Crowder's been pretty lights out in most of his starts. He's had a couple duds here and there, but even last week he scored before the bye. Rather, he scored with Flacco. Like I like Crowder. I like Robbie. I like Ridley. Rager, if he blows up, great, you have it. But if I don't have to trust him, I don't want to quite yet.
I feel the same way. Craig Sarno, I know it's ugly, but start 2. Bernard, Taylor, CEH, and Pirine. That is ugly. And I still am starting CEH.
Absolutely.
And maybe Bernard.
It's definitely Bernard. It's Bernard and CEH to me. Taylor's hideous. I get he gets Green Bay. So like there is that narrative. The second, Detroit's giving up the most, but Green Bay's giving up the second most. If he's gonna ever get it going, he's back at Wisconsin, like his hometown against Green Bay. Like could be the day that he gets it done. But Bernard is a no-brainer if Mixon's out. If Mixon plays, now we're talking Taylor, CEH. But if not, we're going Bernard. Locked in top 15 guy without Mixon, averages over 19 points per game. I mean, that's a lock button. And then CEH gets the Raiders, who are bottom 5 against the run. I could see him coming out of his bye week and just lighting it up. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see a huge CEH game coming out of the bye here. So I go Bernard, I go CEH. P. Ryan and Taylor are like 2 tiers away. They're not even close, in my opinion.
I know I struggled making that, but then when I looked at the names, I was like, that wasn't hard.
It's not that hard compared to the other 2,
Mitch Chavez, Mahomes, Aaron Jones, Chris Carson, Locket, Godwin, Kelsey, Gibson, or Thielen to flex as well. Let's get it. So what are you asking, Mitch? I mean, those are great players, first of all. Carson's probably not going to be able to play.
Yeah, I think he's just flexing now.
Oh, he's flexing on us. Okay.
Yeah, he's flexing. This is my team, and I've got a big dick. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Well done, Mitch.
This is a good team, and your dick is huge. We agree.
Well done, Mitch. So yeah, that's the thing. That's why that Carson trade makes even more sense, because it's like, okay, so you can throw in Gibson this week and let Carson get healthy. And if Carson never gets healthy, you still have Kelsey in your lineup and a great loaded roster around him. So,
I mean, the advantage that Kelsey gives you over like a mid-tier tight end, you could almost not start a running back and not lose much in the way of points. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's not that far from me. And say a running back gets you 11, 12 points, that's not a great running back, and you put up a 0. I mean, Kelsey's probably scoring 10 points more than your average running or tight end.
100%. One of my favorite stats, I can't wait to see what it is by the time of this year, because Kittle usually can rival Kelsey, but wins over replacements, it's called like WAR or fantasy points above replacement. It's crazy at tight end usually between Kelsey and the bottom 12, but this year especially, it's going to be, like you said, 10, 12 point gap, because Kelsey's been balling at a crazy level and everybody else has been just horrible. So yeah, great trade still.
Martin Broadhurst, Curtis Samuel, or Rojo in full PPR this week. Thank you. Curtis Samuel really stuck it to us last week.
Yeah, I have a hard time going back to him. And he's one of those players, though, like as soon as you bench him, he blows up. As soon as you put him in, he sucks.
Bench him at your own risk. I would go Rojo, but I mean, Samuel's going to score 20 as soon as you do. So
I'm going to go Rojo too. He's also very risky in the sense that Arians just like loves to bench him. He'll look for a reason to bench him. But after a 98-yard touchdown run, like every time Rojo gets it, I'll give it to CJ. Like Rojo looks actually good. He's a good player. So I go Rojo here. I can't go back to Curtis Samuel after what he did to us. Again, I lost by fucking 0.44. He catches one more ball.
Twice. You lost twice by 0.44.
In the same week. Yeah, exactly. Right. Disgusting.
Right. Didn't happen once. I
started Curtis Samuel. He catches one more ball, does one more thing.
The thing is, when you lose by 0.44, you can look at literally every player in your lineup and say, oh, if he had just done this, or if he had just done that, or if I had started this guy who outscored this guy by half a point that was on. I mean, there's so many, or if that guy on his team hadn't made that ridiculously lucky, meaningless catch. There's so many. That's why it keeps you up at night.
Hail Marys, Nick Chubb running out of bounds. I mean, those are the two that
Jonnu Smith getting an inside handoff from the one.
Just disgusting stuff. But Curtis Samuel getting 2.7.
Why do we even like fantasy?
I fucking hate fantasy. What are we doing?
I know. Why are we like setting this up to be our career path?
I hate it. It just boots us in the balls nonstop.
Yeah, we'll take it. We're like, all right. Craig Sarno wants to know Jonnu or Tanyan this week. Well, if they just keep peppering Jonnu with those 1-yard handoffs, I would say Jonnu.
Yeah, Tanyan's so hard to trust at this point.
Like, I might say Jonnu anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. I have Jonnu at 14 and Tanyan at 19, so I don't really love either. But out of those two, it's Jonnu.
All right.
Tanyan hasn't been doing it. Now Lazard comes back. Like, yeah, I'm avoiding him. I'm cutting Tanyan probably.
Danny Jennings, Ertz was spotted in practice today as like a football player. Like, did he have like a jersey on? Was he a member of the media? What? Was he shouting at birds? What was he doing?
He's a big bird shouter.
I don't know. Like, like
get out of here, pigeons.
Right. This is my spot.
This is my spot on the bench. This is where I sit. Get your bird seed. Get out of here.
I mean, yeah, okay. I don't.
Great.
I guess I'm glad he was spotted at practice.
What does that matter?
I'm glad he's doing well.
Did he have any good games? You owned him for a little while.
No, he didn't have any fucking good games.
Fucking useless. Yeah, thanks, Danny Jennings. What a useless update.
Ryan LaMarche, Hyde or Ahmed?
Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
My Hail Mary and my high are all in one. As long as Carson's out, I'm going to go with the better offense. I'm just going to go with Hyde. I don't know. What do you think about that one, True?
Go on with Ahmed.
That's a tough one, Ryan. You got to split here. I think the good news of that is you probably can't really go wrong. I think both are pretty good. Like
I feel like if you're going to go wrong, I feel like there's more of a chance you're going wrong with Hyde.
That's true. Yeah, there's a bigger chance Hyde busts. There's also a bigger chance Hyde scores and has a pretty big day too. I think the floor is higher.
Seattle has looked like ass the last couple weeks. They really have. Like, I mean, I don't know. Russell Wilson has looked terrible. I don't expect that to continue. I feel like Ahmed has a higher floor right now.
I wouldn't disagree. I don't. I think Ahmed does have the higher floor. So if you want the safe points, Ryan, I go Ahmed. But I'm into the Hyde train. I'm into the Hyde train this week.
God, I'm gonna throw that in your face if Hyde runs 6 times for like 9 yards.
Back when he has like 100 in a TD.
All right, you can, and I'll have it coming. Angel Vox 1, Antonio Brown. When was the last time Hyde had a game like that, though? When was the last time Hyde put up numbers like that you're going to throw in my face? I don't know. 17
fantasy points against the same fucking Arizona team he's facing this week when your guy Chris Carson got hurt.
So. My guy Chris, that fucker. Angel Vox 1, Antonio Brown, Chase Edmonds, or Sullivan, Ahmed. Flex. That's interesting, actually.
I like Sullivan. I mean, Antonio's close. Edmonds is kind of out of this for me. I can't go into that backfield right now. It's so weird. It's so gross. Like they're both good, but not great when they're both on. I don't know. I don't want anything to do with the Cardinals. Antonio Brown's obviously intriguing, coming off his best day as a Buck. Big leap up from his first game.
Thought he looked good.
They get the Rams, though, that are giving up the lowest points to wide receivers right now.
Yeah, but it's specifically the Rams. They shut down the wide receiver 1, and Brown, for the first time in his career, like in a long time, has the luxury of being a wide receiver 3 or whatever. So I don't know.
Matchup that Brady,
I don't hate him here.
It's a good point because like when Brady finds that soft spot, that one thing that like you can pepper over and over, he won't stop. So if that ends up being Brown this weekend, like Brown could see 10 catches like that could happen. I still like Sullivan Ahmed. Similar to you with the other one with Hyde and Ahmed, I just think the floor is pretty damn high with Ahmed this week. Like you're getting 16 a touchdown most likely. And there's a decent enough ceiling that he could get to 100 in a TD. So yeah, Antonio Brown could go crazy, but I want to see it in like a couple games, I guess. I don't know. I'm being kind of greedy with that too. There's just so many mouths there. I like Ahmed. He's getting
fed all the mouths last week.
They fed all the mouths last week. I don't know if you can do that against the Rams. No, I think Ahmed, you're getting 15 carries. Like let me just fire that up.
All right. SL Minscriber Mag. Carson owner just snagged Hyde, so now I'm stuck. Hyde, McKissick, Drake, or Edmonds. I need to start 2. I'm assuming, Wolf, you're going Hyde and McKissick here, right?
Yeah, I'm going Hyde and McKissick. I'm avoiding that Cardinals backfield. Yep. That's right. Where I'm rolling. Do you agree?
I do. So I don't know if this is Mr. Sedwin or Mrs. Edwin, but one of those 2 people on Periscope said, would you trade Mike Thomas for Carson and Singletary? No, I wouldn't. No. Come on. Singletary is literally a bag of hot garbage.
Exactly.
Like, it's one of those, like, if you trade in, if you like, you're going to a car dealership and you're going to buy a car and you're like, oh, I got a trade in for you. And they look at it and they're like, well, I'm going to have to charge you extra just to haul that off the lot.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Like, I'm going to have to, you trade me Singletary. I'm going to have to, unfortunately, charge you a premium just for the, labor cost of dropping him 3 seconds later. Right.
Exactly. I think that's a good point. As soon as I saw Singletary, I said no, because it's like I don't want ever to acquire Singletary. So if I'm looking at just a Carson for Mike Thomas, straight up.
Right now with Carson hurt, I mean, no.
Especially with Atlanta coming up. Yeah, if Carson was playing this week, I'd probably say yes, hammer it. But it's such a sketchy situation. I think Thomas against Atlanta, like this has to be the coming out party. If it's not, then you should have done the deal. But I'm
not sure the coming out party is happening.
If it doesn't happen against Atlanta this week, it's never happening.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think you stick it out and you see what Thomas does, because it could just light the wide receiver 1 finish right here. Whereas Carson, you're like dealing with a dinged up guy. Like, yeah, I'll stick with. That's tough though. Like if you're in a really good shape, Mrs. Edwin or Mr. Sedwin, I like that. Y'all let us know what you are, by the way.
Either way, thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. I honestly prefer Carson in a vacuum, but with the health questions, I'm getting more and more skeptical of that. So
yeah, me too. And Jameis, you never know. Give Jameis a game or 2.
Exactly.
Penna 722-01182. My wide receivers are Galladay, DJ Moore, and Robbie Anderson. QB injury concerns. How do you rank them? You go ahead. I know what I think, but you go ahead.
I go Robbie, Galladay, DJ Moore, distant third.
Me too. Hyde over Damien Harris. Is Mike Clay making his first appearance on the pod?
Good to see the legend has made it back. ESPN. This is where I hit, like, I was moving Hyde up. This is where I stopped. I was like, nope, Damien Harris against Houston. I got to go with that. So I have Damien Harris a spot higher.
I like Damien Harris more also.
I love him this week.
Fizzle 331, Galladay, Fulgham, or Cooper.
This guy's from Australia. I connected with him this week. My bad.
Right.
I kind of berated him on a tweet. I was like, I do 5 live shows. I'm sorry I missed this. And he wasn't even rude about it. I was just really drunk and was like, dude, you got to catch me live. So Fizzle, thank you for coming back to the show.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad the Wolf didn't chase you away. We value the Australian. Have you heard from Link Clegg anytime recently?
Dude, Link Clegg was making a fucking huge defensive points against spreadsheet for us. And then I don't know what the fuck happened to him. I'm going to check in with him at the end of the show, actually.
Link, where are you? We got other Australians now that are trying to move onto your corner.
Yeah.
Let's go, bud. Come on.
Our number one Australian of all time. His corner is being threatened by Fizzle coming back after a Wolf angry response.
Sometimes that's what people need, like Link Clegg need. They need a fire lit under their ass.
Yeah,
so I will just try to answer this. Fizzle, I don't love any of these options, I got to say. Fulgham looked pretty awful last week. Anything associated with Dallas looks pretty awful. Galladay's been hurt, and he had 0 points the game before that, and I still might go Galladay.
I'm almost leaning Galladay. Part of me wants to go Cooper. I have Galladay higher.
I can't do it, man. I can't do it.
The thing is Cooper, his only game he got with Dalton before Dalton got smushed, he had 21 fantasy points. He was the wide receiver 7. And that was against Arizona with Patrick Peterson on him. So now you get Minnesota, the worst among the worst quarterback duos in the league. I'm getting.
You saw what Nick Foles did to them, though, right?
I think Dalton might actually be better than Nick Foles. As scary as
definitely better than Nick Foles, the guy who beat you in the Super Bowl. Definitely.
Yeah. I go Cooper. I honestly do. I think I go Cooper here. I'm with you. It's not Fulgham after that complete disappearing act. Truth. I have Cooper and the other dude, Galladay, a tier above him. Yeah. But I feel like with the risk associated to both, I'd rather stomach Cooper's risk, I think.
All right, that's fair. Kyle Tuneberg praying to get to the playoffs and get Austin Eckler back. Yeah, you and everybody else who owns that guy.
Seriously. What an injection that's going to be, though, because he's been good.
I hope so.
So good in Phillip Rivers' offenses. Imagine now that he gets this pace and jet power of Justin Herbert taking this offense to new levels. Eckler's a monster. I can't wait to see him back.
Robert Moreno, Duke Johnson, or Damien Harris. We talked about this, actually. Or forget both and look for Carlos Hyde on the wire. You like Harris here, though, right?
I like Harris here, and I'd rather keep him than pick up Hyde. Again, Harris and Hyde are very close, but I think that Houston matchup is just going to be – the way he was running against the Ravens, I was facing him.
But Harris is the guy. I mean, assuming he's healthy, he's the featured back for New England to the extent that they got one. Hyde, even if he's due for a big game that you think might rival the game that Harris is going to have, he's still keeping the seat warm for Carson.
Exactly.
If and when the guy ever plays football again.
Exactly. So rest of season value, Harris has significantly more, and I think similar, if not better, week 11 appeal. I just don't understand why he doesn't get goal line carries because he's a beast. He's a monster.
Yeah, he's a hard runner.
He would score every single time, but it's either Cam or Rex Burkhead scoring all the touchdowns these days. I don't get it. I don't understand why. Do you know Cam Newton hasn't thrown a touchdown to a wide receiver this year?
Yeah, and this season throwing to wide receivers, I think he has 0 touchdowns, 6 picks.
Insane. Just fucking crazy. But yeah, Harris is a great runner against the worst rushing defense in the league. I think that's the matchup for sure.
Denny Jennings, Pirine, Breida, or Damian Harris. Definitely Harris. Half-point PPR, shitty RB2 options, just worried about the New England backfield fiasco.
The fiasco could happen as soon as Michelle's back and it might get discussing, and it might be this week. But I'm trusting Harris until that gets.
I mean, neither of the other guys is a great option. You go Harris. Go Harris. Even if you don't trust the New England backfield, that's who you're going with.
Exactly.
Kyle Tuneberg, start 2. JT, you, CEH, Duke, or Hyde. Just picked him up during this. I think I know what you're going to say, but go ahead.
I'm going Hyde and CEH. What about you, Truth?
No, Duke, I mean, definitely. I don't consider this close.
Yeah.
I don't see the Duke.
Like Duke's in a lot of people's high up in people's rankings. I'm like 6 spots lower than the ECR. I saw all I needed to saw. I saw what I saw last week.
Yeah. When was the last time Duke had a big game?
Never. He played 95% of the snaps and squeezed out 5 fantasy.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you would be betting essentially on something that's like never happened before. This is clearly a CEH Hyde thing, and I don't even like Hyde. Giuseppe Russo, hey boys, what's up, man?
What's up?
Should I start Tannehill or go with either Winston or Stafford dealing with a hurt thumb? Actually, this is my exact situation. I had Tannehill and I picked up Winston, and I'm starting Winston over him.
Give me Jameis, baby. Love fired it up.
Let me just be clear, Giuseppe. Your tires might get slashed the next day, but it's going to be a wild ride. It's going to be a wild
ride either way. You're going to either have the most anger you've ever felt in the pit of your stomach or the best joy you've ever felt. There's no in between. And
right.
I think you're going to – I lean to the side of joy this week for Jameis.
Right. Katie Gigier. Need a fill-in QB this week. Tried to get Winston, but my little shit of a husband spent his whole waiver wire budget to block me from picking him up, that motherfucker. So who would you go with this week out of these gross options? Tua, Goff, Smith, or Cousins? What a shit move.
I'm pretty
sure in like 20 states that's grounds for divorce.
It's all, yeah, seriously. And you know, so Katie is an unreal fantasy player. She actually has the trophy in their household right now. We've talked about.
Is this your cousin?
Yes.
I've heard a lot about you, Katie.
Super fan.
I'm sorry this happened to you.
She's killing in our family league actually right now. Her husband is a little shit. So Billy Jiggs, little shit.
Come on, Billy. What's wrong with you?
What an asshole move. But I do think they're actually playing each other.
Okay.
This week.
Less of an asshole move.
Less of an asshole move. I think it's actually a pretty good move.
It's a sound move. Okay.
It's a respectable move, especially when he wakes up every day and sees the trophy hanging over his bed and it's not his. It's his wife's.
I respect that, Katie.
I love it. We're actually going to film a special on that someday. I cannot wait.
Yeah, okay.
But these are some gross options, Keen. I think I prefer Smith, honestly, our Hail Mary of the week.
Wow.
Tua's right there. Goff, I mean, I don't know.
They're all very similar to me, actually.
I think I have Goff the highest, and the Bucs have been kind of exposed as like we're not that good of a defense. But they do have a good pass rush, and the left tackle being out and Goff being on the road and Goff being so bad against pressure, it worries me. It worries me a lot for Goff. I think he's the best option here, but I would not be surprised to see him shit himself. I think Smith might have the sneaky highest floor out of any of these guys after 55 attempts. I think I'm going Smith.
I hate these choices, Katie. I honestly don't know. They're all almost interchangeable to me. I think I would probably not go Cousins. Oh man, Smith hasn't even thrown a touchdown since he's been back. I don't know, man. I mean, I'll defer to the Wolf on this. Those are brutal. Winston would have been better, which I know you know, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know.
So Goff is like my 19. Listen to this, Truth. Goff's my 19. Tua is my 20. Alex Smith's my 21. Kirk Cousins is my 23. Like literally all in this.
I mean, I don't know. I told you they all seem pretty similar to me.
And I look at Goff at 19. I'm like, I don't really like that. I think he should be lower. So this one sucks. Katie, this is like the worst question I think we've ever got.
Or the best. I mean,
maybe the best. Yeah, it says put our mind in a pretzel. I mean, Tua seems to have the like Denver's not a great defense. I don't love Tua this week though.
I don't trust Tua like that yet.
I don't either. But when those are your other options, I mean, the dude's had 6, 21, 15, nothing special.
None of the rest of them are any fun to pull for. If you're looking for fun, Tua's your guy. And if it's close, yeah, you know what? I'm going Tua.
I'm going to go Smith. I think Smith has the matchup, the pass attempts. I'm going to go with Smith.
All right, Giuseppe Russo, pick 3, half-point PPR, Jacobs, Gibson, Jay Robinson, Drake, Hyde, or Ahmed. We're picking 3, huh? Go ahead, Wolf.
I can't bench Robinson. I know the matchup's tough against Pittsburgh. You can't bench Gibson.
No.
And honestly, I don't think you can bench Jacobs after last week either.
That's the same 3 I would have picked, and even though I was like, that's kind of boring. But
yeah, it's not Drake. It's definitely not Drake.
Drake's the 6th guy on my list.
Yeah, exactly. And then the other 2 are interesting, but you're hoping that the other 2 do what the first 3 do pretty regularly at this point. Like I think Gibson's really emerged as like the circle of trust. He's in. I love you, Gibson. Gibson's the best.
Mitch Chavez grabbed Hyde. Thanks, guys. You're welcome, Mitch.
Hell yeah, Mitch.
Add to that already ridiculous team.
Backing up Carson now, right? Yeah.
Giuseppe
exactly.
Russo, pick 2, Crowder, Jacoby Myers, or Rager, half-point PPR. I can't tell you how much I hate Jacoby Myers. Not because he's not decent, but because of that pass he threw. So I'm going to defer to you again on this because I just don't even want any part of it.
It comes to Myers or Crowder for me. And again, I just looked at it. I have Crowder 30 and Myers 31. So another one of those ones.
You're not taking Myers like, amazing passing prowess into account, though.
Exactly. I think Myers does have actually the better floor because anything with Flacco does have a 0 floor. But Crowder's been so good this year.
That's true. If you're playing with Flacco, your floor might be 0.
It's definitely 0.
Actually, your floor is 0.
Myers has been that alpha too. But that's tough. I feel like Myers, I would probably just go for the safer pick, to be honest.
Giuseppe again wants to know Hooper or Hurst, half-point PPR.
I'm definitely Hurst. We talked about why I'm higher on him this week. I think that one's close to a no-brainer. I want Hurst there.
Play 2, Giuseppe again. Claypool, Woods, Evans, Cooks, PPR.
I'm going to go Claypool and Woods, the first 2 options there. Cooks is close. Evans gets Ramsey this week.
Evans has got the first cornerback from the Rams. This might be a week to shy away from Evans if you have a better option.
Yeah, I like Claypool, Woods.
Omar F., better rest of the season QB, Flacco or Dalton? Whoa. Flacco or Dalton?
Why either? None.
That'd be my 3rd in a 2 quarterback league, man. Omar, I don't even know how to answer that.
Do you need a 3rd quarterback? Like what? Why?
I mean, I wouldn't want to take up a roster spot with one of those guys personally. No. I honestly, I don't even know how to answer that. I think they're just both.
I think
terrible.
Dalton's the
Probably
only one.
Dalton,
like Dalton has the weapons and the shot to start the rest of the year.
I'm going to say Dalton, but you're talking – this is probably the shittiest options we've ever had on the show.
Yeah, this is – Omar, you're bringing this show to new lows, brother. And I love you. Omar's a regular, too.
Oh, yeah. Just no personal hate. Just like those are 2 terrible, terrible fantasy players.
To me, it's definitely Dalton, though. Like Flacco, once Darnold's back, the job's done, whereas Dalton presumably is the start of the rest of the year with good weapons, could lead somewhere, I guess, but probably not.
All right, Giuseppe now wants to know Landry, Pittman, or Myers, PPR.
Myers, definitely Myers.
Not Myers. Did you watch? We're not touching Landry here.
No.
Giuseppe wants to know Galladay or T. Higgins, PPR. T.
Higgins. I'm never benching. T is almost always a must start at this point for me.
Yep. Craig, aren't we all going to try and play every week? We don't succeed, but we try like hell. Yeah, sure. We're all going to try and play, but not as hard as Drew Lock is going to try and play. Okay? He's going to go out there and he's going to try and play.
We try like hell.
That should also be an RSJ shirt, by the way.
We try like hell.
We're going to go and we're going to try and play.
This weekend we're going to try and play. Yeah, exactly.
I saw what I saw. You tried to play.
Exactly.
Ruben Serrano, Urias at flex Claypool or Zeke. Claypool, I think.
Claypool. Yeah, Claypool, definitely.
Patrick Sullivan, woohoo. Should I drop Drew Brees to pick up Drew? I'm assuming he says Drew Luck, but I'm assuming he means Drew Lock, LOL. Well, let me just answer that with a quick comment, Patrick. Only one of those guys is going to try and play this week. You can do with that information what you want.
I wonder what drew the woohoo too. I love the little woohoo at the beginning. Was it
he's happy? He's stoked, man. He's pumped.
Is it us being live? Is it Drew Lock going
watching with one? He's enjoying the moment.
I love it. Honestly though, Drew Lock is not a reason.
No, dude,
is a great hold, but it's not like Drew Lock.
No, of course not. No, don't do that.
You can drop Brees though, but it's just not for Drew Lock.
Right, you got to have a better reason than that. Jordan Householder, Carlos Hyde, or Devontae Parker at flex. I'm definitely saying Hyde.
Yeah, I'm going Hyde, definitely.
Green light, A-Rob for Eckler, PPR. I have A-Rob.
I would probably keep A-Rob, the second easiest, or like, what was it, the second or third easiest playoff schedule among receivers. If you feel great, though, about your chances to get it into the playoffs, this could be a move. If your running backs are weak, if you're feeling really good. But otherwise, A-Rob's a sure 8 to 10 targets, even if they're shit targets. And he's got such a cake schedule coming up. So most of the time I'm doing.
I agree with you. If you can make the playoffs, it might be a move to make. The quarterback situation is so bad in Chicago right now. And A-Rob really does seem to be doing what he can do. I mean, even in that game, he sailed some balls. I mean, if they hit him in the numbers, A-Rob probably would have had 100 yards receiving. Yeah. I would probably stick with A-Rob unless you feel real good about it. This guy, Greenlight, wants to know A-Rob for A.J. Brown, PPR.
It is funny how A-Rob is like the most disgusting.
I told you, he always comes up. No one really likes him.
No one loves him, but he's so goddamn good. Like, I love him. I don't have him anywhere, but I like him. I would probably prefer A.J. Brown, though. You own A-Rob. Who would you rather have?
Well, I mean, given what I've seen out of Tannehill recently, I'd probably rather have A-Rob.
Yeah, Foles really motivates you?
No. I mean, this is I'm going to go with A-Rob just because I got him. But I mean, it's not a done deal, not a sure thing at all. Austin Forrester, Jameis, pepper the shit out of my boy MT, and we're good. Okay, yeah.
There we go. Jameis, the other Jameis.
Yeah.
And the other Jameis, our best Jameis.
Like Clay, would you start Winston over Brady? I'd have to pick up Winston. I probably wouldn't.
It's not worth dropping. Yeah, I know your bench, Mike. You got a studly cast. So even if I might have Winston, I'm going to say a spot higher than Brady, but that's not enough for me to drop somebody. We have some folds coming up here. You said like fold like something.
Yeah.
So, Todd Roos
fold like a shitty poker hand is great. Thanks. That was all I could come up with.
And then we got this one.
Craig starting to fold like Alex Smith's leg. Yes, it's too soon, Craig.
That is
starting this week.
Craig, you sicko. I love it. That's why you're here. But man, that is a brutal one.
Or Gordon Hayward's foot.
Right.
Kevin Ford or P. Ryan. I don't know.
Did he ask another question?
I don't know. Mitch Chavez. Glad I kept G over the last 4 weeks. Been a great hold and play so far. Yeah.
You've asked us about him a few times. I told you, keep holding until he's on the bench, and I'm glad you've listened, and it's certainly paying out. Yeah, good job.
Ryan Kennedy, you need to pick up 4 from Adams, Thielen, Locket, Chark, Deontay Johnson, and Fuller. Well, you got to go Adams.
Yeah, here's a new rule, Ryan Kennedy. You ask a question about Adams, I will never answer it again. There's never going to be a time Adams is not in your lineup.
You should have said need to pick 3 and just not had Adams on this list.
Not have Adams in there. Like, there's certain people that you don't ask about. Adams has earned that.
Right. Should I start Pat Mahomes this week?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You probably should. Yeah.
Who am I putting in at running back? Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, or Salvin Ahmed? Like, I know. Here's the deal, though. You actually have really stacked options. So I see.
Yeah, I mean, you have all good options. Just Adam shouldn't have been.
Just on the list. Adam should never be in there. I think Thielen and Lockett are both.
I can't start Chark in this group.
Devontae's close. Like, I have Thielen and Lockett the highest after Adams.
Oh, definitely.
But all these
I
other
would
guys,
put Johnson 4th, probably Fuller 5th, and Chark 6th.
Yeah, that's how I would rank them too. If you're a little squeamish about Lockett coming up on Thursday, I'd say Deontay's a pretty safe.
Oh, come on. Why would you be squeamish? The guy's had 200 yards and 3 touchdowns last time he faced these guys. Like, I know he's not going to do that again, but you can't be like,
It's the knee, though.
Come on.
The knee. He's been under 10 points in like 3 straight weeks.
He was on the trainer's room. You're right.
But ultimately, yeah, I like you said, I'm not benching someone that had 203 touchdowns. No.
Parker or Duke for the flex. This is Mike Clay.
I'd probably go Duke. I don't like either of these guys.
Man, I hate those choices.
I don't like either. Can you get Carlos Hyde? Like, go Carlos Hyde if you can.
Kevin Ford, Reynolds, Pittman, or Mike Williams, full PPR. Yeah.
It's right.
Probably going Williams.
I might go. Yeah, I think Williams might be my highest, but I do really like Pittman. I have Williams at 38, Pittman at 41. Reynolds has also led the league in receiving for a couple of weeks now, which is sickening. It's
I don't care.
I don't care either. I go Mike Williams here. It's the Jets. He should be able to get deep and good upside. I like him. Even though Pittman's close. I mean, Pittman was one of my favorite pickups this week. 7 of 8 on 100 yards, all team high. I love Michael Pittman, but this week it's Mike Williams.
Reed Gettler, Calvin Ridley, or McLaurin?
Ooh, that is a tough one. I'd probably go Terry just for the safety. You get Cincy, an easy matchup, like no real risk there. Whereas Ridley, if he plays, there's like re-aggravation, there's all that shit. Give me McLaurin.
Denny Jennings, Doug Peterson's play calling sucks. Wentz didn't have to throw over 20 yards last game. I believe Goddard will be the number one going forward. I remember when the Eagles beat the Patriots. I do too, Denny. I do too.
Fuck you, Denny. Yeah, I love you, and I also despise you.
Philly special, baby.
Ugh. Shut up.
Blue Crew, need your suggestions, please. Half point PPR. I need a wide receiver and a flex. McKissick, Kupp, Godwin, T. Higgins, or Claypool. Already starting. Thielen, Kamara, or Zeke. Well, I'm sorry you're starting Zeke. That's a shame.
I think I would bench Zeke for McKissick.
I mean, I would too. And there's a bunch of other people. We already said we'd start Claypool over Zeke.
Right. Oh, so we don't even need Zeke. Yeah, so you get McKissick in the RB2 spot, I think is what he's saying. Kamara's in his RB2 spot. Then we can have 2 of these receivers for our flex. Mm-hmm. I would probably go Higgins and Claypool. I love Higgins.
Tough to pass on Godwin.
You like Godwin and Claypool? I mean,
I might like Godwin and Higgins if I'm being honest with you. I don't know. That's tough.
I bench Zeke for McKissick, and then I go Higgins, Claypool, but I really do like all 4 of them. I mean, these are some great options, Blue Crew. I go Higgins and Claypool.
Hats off to you. Jose Calderon, MVS or Bell is my flex. Is that Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah, that's not good.
Can you pick up Hyde?
Yeah, can you pick up Hyde or even like
we always come back with like, can you pick this guy up?
Hyde or Reagor or maybe Perriman. MVS could get deep though. Like you could get what you got last week and just go for the deep shot. That's kind of what I'm rolling with.
Kyle Tuneberg, I currently have Fulgham and Reagor in my 2 flex spots, which I don't like to do. Yeah, I hear you. Would you play Emmanuel Sanders over one? Which one? Yes, I would. Definitely. Like, no question about it.
Yep.
And, man, I don't know. I want to say I'd start him over Fulgham, but I just don't know.
I'd probably play Fulgham just because he's gotten it done more often this week, and I bench Reagor. But there's a case for either. That's a tough call between those 2. And Wolfpack, again, as we wind down, we got another like 15, 20 questions here. Your thumbs up, though, does help us grind this out, keep us going, keep us fired up, and reaching more people. So if you don't mind going, giving us that thumbs up would really help. We appreciate it, Wolfpack.
Maraf, what's up, fellas? Sorry, I had to get my question in first while working. LOL. No problem. Always check out The Boys on Amazon Prime. If you haven't, perfect combo of violence, swearing, and comedy. Love The Boys on Amazon Prime. I actually read the graphic novels a long time before the show came out, so I was already in. Agreed.
Nice. I've seen the first episode, and I don't have a ton of time for TV, and it was one my girlfriend did not like. So we only have, if I'm watching a TV show, it's got to be a mutual agreement at this point. So I'll try to get it on my, once the season's over, maybe I can get to it. But in season, there's no way I can bang out a show that's not a joint agreement here, Omar. So I'll check it out. I found the pilot entertaining, but it's got to be
I generally I read a lot of graphic novels and comics, or used to in my younger days, but just love that medium. And I'm almost always very disappointed with the adaptations that come to TV and the movies. And this is one of the rare ones that I was not disappointed in.
Nice.
I thought they'd done a good job.
Cool.
Jose Calderon, I got Murray. Is that Tyreek Hill or Taysom Hill? I guess that's Tyreek.
Yeah.
And
gotta be Tyreek.
And Kyle Allen. Jesus. Oh, Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
Edmonds and Jamal Williams as my running backs. Okay. Cool.
I dropped off at running back for sure.
Yeah. HUD back. Pick 3 to start, assuming Galladay plays. Higgins, Galladay, Julio, Terry.
I'm benching Galladay.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Whether he plays or not, yeah.
Danny Jennings, good TV fantasy show would be Cheers, all the Wolfpack in a bar talking football and drinking. Yeah, that would be solid.
Would be great stuff.
Jose, Calderon, Higgins, Julio, Terry. Yeah, we agree.
Absolutely.
Mitch Chavez, thanks, guys. LOL. You're welcome, Mitch. Thanks for hanging around.
I think he chuckled because of the downstairs compliment we gave him for the trade.
Yeah. Steven Mickelson, not sure. All right, Carson likely out. I need 2. Hyde, McKissick, Drake, or Edmonds. Godwin's in my flex. I'd say Hyde and McKissick.
Yep, I'm benching the Cardinals guys. This is SML in Subscriber Mag or something, catching us from two different platforms here.
Nice. Kid Kobe, what's up, guys? New subscriber here. Loving the show so far. LOL. Makes us super happy, man.
Thanks for tuning in. We're glad to have you aboard. We're live often, like 5 out of 7 days, 6 out of 7 days. I don't even know what it is at this point. We're live a shitload, 6 out of 7 days, sometimes multiple times a day. So hit that bell if you want to catch us every time. We'd love to have you, Kid Kobe. Thanks for joining aboard the Wolfpack.
Omar F. I lost to Willie Snead and Burkhead in a lineup and would have won if I'd played Balaj over Phil Lindsay, who basically got a donut. What a kick to the jewels. It was a kick. There were so many kicks to the jewels last week, Omar. I got kicked in the jewels 5 or 6 separate times.
That is a pretty bad. Like, I mean, I was complaining about my loss, but at least it was like Murray and Hopkins who did it, like 2 studs. You lost to Snead and Burkhead. Like, that is.
I lost to Jacoby Myers throwing a goddamn touchdown pass in a fucking monsoon.
When has Willie Snead done? Like, Myers has at least had a few big weeks. Like,
as a quarterback,
he was startable.
As a quarterback, he threw a pass. This was not like a wide receiver play.
I get the way he got to his points was frustrating.
Yeah,
but Myers was an understandable fantasy play because he's been good. The fact that somebody had Willie Snead and Burkhead, not even just one of them, but both of them in a lineup, and both of them scored on Sunday Night Football to boot you straight in the nuts. Omar, yours is pretty close to mine. I don't know if the margin of loss was like 0.44 like mine, but that's a pretty fucking.
I don't think you're giving me enough credit here.
Yours sucks, but I mean, I think you're a distant third.
1 yard handoff to Jonnu Smith. When you got the quarterback and the running back,
it blows. But I don't know. Omar's losing to Willie Snead and Burkhead. That's pretty fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's terrible. Mitch Chavez, welcome, Kid Kobe. These guys are the best in the business. Thanks,
Thank you, man. Appreciate that, Mitch. Yeah, you're the best of the fans in the business, my dude.
Mike Clay, he practiced, but is still on IR. Ertz. Yeah. He's yelling at pigeons, Mike. He's yelling at pigeons.
Just screaming at the pigeons from the IR.
Christian Gunnolfson, drop Dobbins for Ahmed. I have Gaskin, Gallman, or Damien Harris. I just want to say real quick, before you answer this, I told you that Dobbins was not going to have this breakout performance. Like, we've been trying to set the table for this guy. Like, okay, now there's only 2 backs in the 4-back backfield. This is going to be the week. We've kind of received inside word. This is going to be the week Dobbins blows up. Will you get off that, please?
Well, the first game where there was only 2 guys, he did have 130 yards or something crazy like that. He's so good. That's the deal I can't get off it, Nat, is Dobbins is a great talent. I think Dobbins is, if and when he gets the volume he deserves, we're going to be looking at him as like a top 12 fantasy back.
I agree, but for whatever reason, it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen.
So this year, you're right. Maybe I should get off him for this year, but long term, I still think Dobbins is an absolute monster. I just hope they get some semblance of fucking consistency. That's what any running back needs, a little bit of a fucking flow. But yes, that all said, I would drop him for honestly any of these 3. I don't know.
I would too. I don't know about Gallman. I might not for Gallman. I don't know. Dude,
did you realize Gallman scored like 5 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks?
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't help you at all.
No, it helps. I mean, I guess I would probably drop Dobbins for any of these guys. It's not like I don't feel good about anybody on the Giants. I don't care what they're doing.
Yeah.
How could you?
Exactly. I feel like I would probably. I don't know which one I have the highest, though, to be honest. They're all like right neck to neck.
You probably have Harris the highest.
Probably, but then Sony's going to come back, and it's like Sony sucks, but like you never know with the fucking Patriots. I honestly might go like Ahmed because you have Gaskin, and you almost just like lock down that Dolphins backfield the rest of the year. So you have Ahmed for however long he lasts, and then Gaskin comes back in, and you hope it doesn't become some messed up committee when Gaskin comes back. It might be. Maybe he walks right back into his starting role. I don't know. I kind of like what Gallman's doing, to be honest. I think I might have Gallman the highest, which is crazy. Really? Those touchdowns.
You might be right. I'm not sticking my neck out here and going against you. I just have knee-jerk reactions when it comes to anyone that plays for a couple different teams.
I agree. Like, I mean, they're sickening. You don't want to ever root for the Giants, but
I'm not rooting for them.
They're sickening. Let's move on from that one.
Craig Sarno, Barber or Singletary rest of the season. Are you talking about Tiki Barber?
No, he's talking about.
I know who the fuck he's talking about. I mean, probably Singletary.
Dude,
I mean, I know it's a joke question, but I do think that probably Singletary is the choice.
Give the man what he wants. Tell him how much you love Barber.
No. I haven't even called Barber all year.
Oh.
I threw his number away.
That's why he's playing so bad. He's just waiting for his motivation from the.
He's going to keep waiting. We're done. Omar FLLMAO. It's bad, but I have Wentz and Big Ben as my starters. Waiver wire is model thin. Unless I pick up Drew Lock, it's strictly for injury insurance. Yeah, okay.
Well, Drew Lock is going to give it a try.
You're going to do what you're going to do, Omar.
I guess you go for Dalton here. It's bad.
MJ, I have Gaskin as Breida drop.
Screw Breida. Yeah, Breida's a loser.
Of course, yeah, sure. Even if you didn't, he's a drop.
It doesn't matter who you have. Breida's a drop. I mean, I guess it's who was out there, but yes, there's a lot of guys I'd rather have than Breida.
Sure. Bailey Fields. Should I start Russell Wilson or Justin Herbert? And for running back, is this a solid 3 to start? DeAndre Swift, Cook, and Nick Chubb. Yeah, fucking course it is. I also have DKN and Keenan Allen. Yeah, you're solid, dude.
Rub it right in our fucking faces, Bailey Fields.
Meanwhile, we're trying to decide, but we have people on this pod. Let's try to be sensitive to the fact that we have people on this pod that are trying to make decisions between Peyton Barber and Mike Singletary, or not Mike Singletary, even Devin Singletary.
Andy Dalton and
right. We had a legit Dalton and
Joe Flacco
fucking Flacco question, man.
And you're coming in with Russell Wilson and
have
Justin
a heart.
Herbert.
You're pretty good. It's a solid 3.
I would go of those quarterbacks though. I mean, again, win-win, but I like Wilson in the shootout tomorrow night. Like I think that's the play.
Did you just call him Wilson?
Wilson. I think I did. I like Wilson. You don't know that under these big comments, Truth, I might be sneaking in a little puff.
Okay. Suppository?
Yeah, cheers.
Hip-hop snippets. Pick 3 wide receivers. Locket, Godwin, AB, Marvin Jones, Sammy Watkins.
Not Sammy Watkins. Nope.
Probably your first 3.
Yeah. AB versus Marvin Jones is tricky. With Galladay back, I probably go AB. Yeah, so the first 3.
Swamp Nola, start Matty Ice or Carson Wentz. I'm probably starting Matty
Ice, yeah, against New Orleans. I think that game could shoot out.
Brian Martinez traded Swift for Mixon straight up right before he was announced as the starter. I'll forever hate Matt Patricia. Me too.
That hurts. That one fucking hurts and Swift has like the easiest of schedules going down the stretch. And he's going to be a monster. I mean, what was it? 75% of the snaps this week, 23 fantasy points. I know you have Geo, so it's a little less painful.
But still, right.
That still hurts.
Hip-hop snippets, pick 2, Carlos Hyde, Damien Harris, Duke Johnson. Get rid of Duke.
Yep, I'm benching Duke there. I agree.
MJ, Josh Allen, or Herbert rest of the season?
I go Allen. They're literally my 5 and 6 on my rest of the season big board, though. It's real close.
I probably would have said Herbert, but I don't feel strongly. I don't feel super strongly. Brian Martinez, Mixon looks done for the year. Yeah,
he honestly might be. Who knows if he's going to show back up?
Denny Jennings, Mike Clay. I hear they're going to bring him back slowly. Yeah, very slowly.
Yeah, Ertz. They need him for the pigeons. Pigeons.
Projected comeback date summer 2022.
Yeah, exactly.
Ilias Giftopoulos, McLaurin or Lockett at wide receiver 2 PPR. That's not a bad question.
I like McLaurin. I mean, obviously we saw again if Lockett goes for 203 again, shit. But I feel like with the injury. I think McLaurin has a floor and similar ceiling, a higher floor, similar ceiling. So give me McLaurin. Do you agree, Truth?
I do agree. Mitch Chavez, there are 2 full seasons of The Boys on Amazon Prime available to watch. It's a great show. Agree.
All righty. The off season, I'll definitely hit that one in the off season. I like it. Too good. Recommending it. I gotta do it.
Matthew Sohn. Hey guys, half PPR. Pick 2 wide receivers: Ridley, Galladay, or Kirk. Thank you. Kirk's been pretty good, man.
I'm going to bench Galladay.
Me too.
Assuming they all play. And then you get Kirk in because if one of those guys doesn't play, at least you got your start in on Thursday night. So, yeah, I go Kirk and Ridley if they're all in. And then you have whichever one doesn't, if one of them sits, you just have the other guy ready to go.
Right. Mitch Chavez at Truth, you need a drink over there over that Myers loss. Oh, I had several drinks over it, Mitch, actually. And you're right. I could probably use a few more. That was brutal, man. It was really bad.
That is brutal.
Did you see the wind and the rain in that game?
Yep. Myers throws a great ball, though. I mean, that converted quarterback.
It like hung in the air. It was like, anyway. Denny Jennings, talk to you later, guys. Thanks for all the great insight and laughs. Won't be on tomorrow, Wolf. So a shot for me. See you Sunday. Truth, see you next Wednesday.
Cheers,
Yeah,
Denny Jennings.
You'll see me Sunday, too. I do the Sunday show with the Truth.
Yeah, the post game.
Well, if you do the post game, you might be talking about the tailgate. But I'll see you next Wednesday, too, Denny. Thanks for watching. Mike Clay, if they wanted to win, they should feed Dobbins. Yeah, sure. We agree. Leaps and bounds better than Ingram and Gus. We actually really agree. Yeah.
And Denny, I'll definitely have some shots for you. Don't you worry. I'll miss you tomorrow. But yeah.
By the way, just right now, Googled this while we were talking. THC suppositories. They're a real thing. Google. Wow. You cram them up your ass.
As if you had to Google it. You know you've shoved a bunch up there.
No, I know I've seen it on the internet before and have been surprised. And I just wanted to make sure I hadn't imagined it. Like,
yeah,
because you seemed pretty surprised when
you're not convincing anybody. We know there's one right up there right now. Like,
that's why I keep wiggling around. So
yeah, you're shaking it in.
Truth, Goddard. No, it's just ADD, and because we've been doing questions for 2 fucking hours. Truth, Goddard this week 70 catches, 90 plus yards, and a TD. Man, I hope you're right, dude. Because I
would love that too. I start Goddard. I'm desperate. Like I would love it. Trust me. I hope Goddard goes, even though he's my lower, but it's not going to happen.
TS Edmonds, Hines, or Geo PPR.
Geo definitely is. Assuming Mixon's out, it's Geo.
Mike Clay, 6 catches, 120 yards from scrimmage, and a touchdown for Breida after that. Yeah, you're
seriously. Right after we call him complete trash, he's going to go off. Exactly.
Yeah, sit one. Ridley, Godwin, Cooks, or Deontay. Probably sitting Cooks.
Yeah, I agree. I'd sit Cooks there too.
Hip hop snippets. Lamar Jackson or Aaron Rodgers. Definitely Rodgers.
Usually it's a lock, but Lamar does get Tennessee, which is a really, really bad defense, whereas Rodgers gets Indy, a pretty good defense. I have him 5 and 6, and I have Lamar higher. I'm
really
going to go for the upside.
I'm going Rodgers.
Yeah, Rodgers is such a higher floor. Like, honestly, that's probably the right play, to be honest.
Craig Sarno, Barber going to have a 2-touchdown game this week just to get you to give him that 3 a.m. call. And he better not.
Come back to me, Truth. Here's a couple touchdowns.
I have been known to give in to temptation. I don't want that to happen.
I would hate that to happen because I'm such a big Gibson fan.
Mike Clay, are we going to talk about Herbert's haircut? No, Mike, we're not going to talk about it. Of course we're going to talk about it.
Awful.
It's fucking terrible.
Have you seen that? Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I hope after making that big trade for him, it better not be like Samson when he loses his hair, because that is a horrible, horrible cut.
Mike's like, are we going to talk about it? Fucking, of course we are. TS, Brady or Matty Ice? Brady.
Yeah, I go Brady too.
Mitch Chavez, LOL, I've got Mahomes and Lamar Jackson as my backup too. This year. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah.
Fucking asshole, Mitch. I love it. Good for you, man. Did you go quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds? Like, how is your team that good? Why would you do that?
He might play with morons.
Yeah.
Denny Jennings, start 3, TK Adams, Kelsey, or Breida. I love that. I
think Kelsey might have to hit the bench on this one.
And I don't even know if we have time to answer this one.
Yeah, there's too much to dig into.
There's going to have to be a lot of analysis on this.
That's a great question from Denny.
We're going to have to look at some of the snap counts and stuff.
Yeah.
And Marin, what are the chances Carson plays this week? It's kind of looking bad, dude.
I wouldn't expect him
I'd
out
say
there.
Less than 50%. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Mitch Chavez, have an awesome night, guys. You too, bud.
You too, Mitch.
Boofing drugs is nothing new. Truth. LOL. I mean, I know. I mean, I still was surprised when I saw it. Denny Jennings, now I'm out. It's like drugs up your ass. Can't leave. Great stuff.
So true. Shove them on up there, Denny. That's the real rush.
Mitch traded for Mahomes and I don't. LOL. Right.
Shove us like drugs up your ass. Things I never thought I'd say on a live stream.
We've said a lot of crazy shit over the years.
Yes.
Mitch,
Mahomes. Good job.
Yeah, Mitch is definitely in a 6-team league. LOL.
I love the good call. Mitch is in a 6-team league. Love the shit talk.
Good night, guys. Good night, Craig.
And I think that Mitch getting his 6-team last question in.
He traded for Jackson too after how much he sucked for the rest of the season for the low. And Mitch is like a vulture. He's poaching on that waiver wire, just killing people in trades left and right.
He really is. Good stuff, Mitch. Always.
If Mitch wins his league, we need a page on the website where we put up like a picture of people that are RSJ followers that won their league. I think that could be a page that grows over the years. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'd love to. We got a bunch of them too. I mean, we already we brought like
Jameis would have to be on there all the time, of course.
Would be in there. We brought him a title, Link Clegg. We'd have some legendary pictures. I think it's a great idea.
We need to get off because you need to text Link Clegg and see what's going on.
We got to get off so we can text Link Clegg, and that is the last.
I'm supposed to be chopping up all this fucking video.
Yeah, we'll exactly. If we're gonna start doing that this late, we might have to start ending these. We might have to set a question limit at some point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of our brand is like we answer everybody's questions.
Exactly. I know. I don't want to set it, but yeah.
You think fucking Field Yates is going to stay on here for 2 hours and answer your questions?
Never. And we got Craig with the blonde fro over here can get on the wall too. I love to hear it. Wolfpack, you guys are the best. This is why we stay for 2 hours, because interacting with you guys is a fucking blast. It's like you guys make our week. I wouldn't be doing it every week if I didn't love interacting with you guys every time. So thanks so much. If you're catching the podcast, Fantasy Fullback Dive, we pave your path to 2020 titles. Thank you so much. Even if you're watching the live show, if you don't mind hitting a review for us, it means the world. It greatly, greatly helps on the podcast. We're trying to, you guys did a great job helping us boost our YouTube numbers. That's awesome. We also want to boost the pod numbers. So Wolfpack, if you're willing to come out for that, that'd be so fucking appreciated. But either way,
give us a subscribe. Even if you're listening to us or watching us live, subscribe to the podcast. The downloads help us. We'd appreciate it. It's the same thing you're seeing on video minus the mailbag, basically.
Exactly. And then everywhere else, we're on your socials: Roto Street Journal, Facebook, Instagram, Roto ST Journal, Twitter, Roto Street Wolf. For me personally, RotoStreetJournal.com is our home base though, and we have an app for all our content. Check out the app. Check out the site. And we will feed and breed you all year long, you wolf.
That's the truth. I'm the truth.
Later, guys. Thank you so much.
See you.